I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Harbor Commission for Monday, August 25th, 2026. That's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Warwick. Present. Commissioner Falk. Here. Commissioner Collar.
Here.
Commissioner Krazan. Present. Commissioner Bauer.
Present.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
And Chair Abelman.
Here. Thank you. I'd like to have Commissioner Bauer lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, all rise. Put your right hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. All right, first, we need to approve the order of agenda. Is there a motion to approve today's?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have blue folder items. I believe there are several blue folder items. Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent, thank you for that. Next, section F, consent calendar. F1, approval of affidavit of posting for the Harbor Commission special meeting of August 25th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's see if we can keep this pace for the entire night.
Amazing.
That'd be great. All right, section G, excluded consent calendar items. I don't believe we have any. Section H, public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes and only 3 minutes to address the chair and the commission. Each speaker is permitted to speak only once. We're going to alternate between Zoom and then in person. So is anybody on Zoom?
There are no hands raised in Zoom for non-agenda items.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to talk on non-agenda items? Okay. All right. Moving on. Let's see. Ex parte. No ex parte communication. No public hearings. Items continue. There's no items continued from previous agendas. Here we go, people. Section L. Items for discussion prior to action. 1 second here. Okay. L1, discussion and consideration and recommendation to the City Council on CEQA exemption declaration and design review permit for Seaside Lagoon Rehabilitation Project in the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Zone in the coastal zone located at 200 Portofino Way. Is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to talk about this one?
Well, I think,
Oh, that's right, yeah, we do.
I mean, we could just go straight to that if you prefer.
That's more of a wishful thinking.
He's moving the meeting along.
I was just so busy cruising along.
That's good.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. So by introduction, I'm Elizabeth House. I'm the Director of Waterfront and Community Services. Tonight we are presenting on the Seaside Lagoon Rehabilitation Project. And I'm sure you see everybody with us. So I wanted to introduce the commission to everyone here. They all have a role and they're available to answer your questions after the presentation as well. So I'll start over here on my right. We have Michelle O'Connor. She is our recreation manager. She manages our facilities and parks throughout the city, and she also manages the Seaside Lagoon. So if you have questions about reservations, number of people that attend throughout the summer, special events, things like that, or even operations, what it costs, what it looks like, what it actually looks like day to day, she'll be available to answer questions about that. Then immediately behind her, we have Perry Cardoza. He is part of our firm from Nuvis that's helped with the design process and will help us through the entitlement process. I'm sure you've seen him before. Then we have Mark Weiner. He is our Community Development Director. He can speak to process tonight, as well as John Champa. He will be helping the city carry this through the entitlement process with the Coastal Commission, and you'll see him speaking to some of the slides later on in the presentation. So we are all here and available to you to answer any questions. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started on the presentation. And here's the agenda for tonight, and the order we'll be going in.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt.
Sure.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Can we
Oh,
turn
okay.
the volume up or something a little bit?
I agree.
In fact, my mic's not on either.
But there's there's almost a funny echo or something.
There is a little bit of an echo, so I don't know if we can ask our Pegasus folks in the
Turn the
back.
de-echo
now.
button on.
Mhm.
Are they here?
Yeah, they're here. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope that they heard that.
I'll be here a little closer to the mic if that helps at all.
It's
Actually worse.
It makes it worse. Okay.
I think there's something wrong with our system right now.
All right, Mia, would you
We're
pop
good.
back there and see if Pegasus, oh, we already have Dave back there.
I would hate to have you get through some of this and people can't hear and they're asking questions.
There is a funny echo.
Is somebody watching this on Zoom live? Is there like a second computer?
It sounds like there is on that side.
Oh, yeah,
Do you hear that?
good point.
It's an echo out of there. We should probably keep speaking so they hear.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is.
Check, check, 1, 2, check, check.
Better.
That sounded
Yep.
better, yes.
All right. No echo?
We can hear you great on Zoom.
Great.
2026 for you. Let's.
Yeah, I know. We'll figure it out eventually. So tonight's agenda is what you see on the screen over here. I'll go ahead and start off with the project history and the project evolution over the last several years. As you know, we've been talking about the lagoon for some time. Then I'll go ahead and hand it over to our colleagues in the Community Development Department. They'll walk you through the Harbor Commission's role tonight, as well as project details, and then we'll land on staff recommendation and next steps. So I'll go ahead and start with essentially what the project site is and the history of it. So we're talking about the Seaside Lagoon, and it is a very unique regional recreational amenity that provides public access to the coast. It is saltwater. It's got sandy beach areas. It has restroom facilities, has showers, and has picnic and barbecue areas. In 2026, we're still in our season, but we've already had over 50,000 visitors and over 100 camps and programs, reserved spaces in the lagoon, so popular. And then even in the after hours and the off season, as you all know, we do host special events and we do have private reservations in that space. The lagoon currently, one of our main ongoing maintenance concerns and issues and challenges is that, as many of you know, we pull water from the ocean to feed into the lagoon, so it's salt water, and then we push that water back out to the ocean. What we have to do when we pull it in is treat it so that it's safe for folks in the lagoon. We essentially chlorinate it, and then when we pump it back out, we have to dechlorinate it. It's a very complicated process using very outdated infrastructure. It's incredibly old. And it's something that we have struggled with over the last, I would say, couple of decades. And I'll show you on the next screen. We receive a permit through the NPDES permit, which holds us to certain standards of water quality. When we don't meet those standards, and we do get tested regularly, we are fined for not meeting those standards. And you'll see on the next slide, we've tracked this since 2001. We've almost hit $1 million in fines, or what we also call SCP costs. So there's years when we perhaps don't have enough to pay the fines. So what we offer instead is a CIP project that would ultimately improve water quality somewhere in the city. But that's essentially one of the struggles we see in that space. So just keep that in mind when you think about the lagoon, and as we go through the history of it, it is something that our working committees and community has thought about when talking about how to improve it in the next season of the lagoon and what it looks like. So we're gonna start in 2021 with the Waterfront Amenities Plan. There are many folks that were part of this process, even some on the commission now. It was an opportunity for a broader conversation about the waterfront as a whole. The Seaside Lagoon was part of that conversation, and you see on the screen the length of outreach that was done, the length of time, as well as the number of community meetings and working group meetings. And at the end, it was all summarized, and you see in the yellow below essentially the feedback that the consultant and the city received from the community after that outreach. The community did want to see improved year-round access. Right now, the lagoon is only open for the summer months. They wanted a renewed water feature and beach experience, so just something to freshen up the Seaside Lagoon. They wanted recreational amenities that would accommodate multiple generations. And they wanted flexible open space and community uses. So just thinking back to 2021, we're finally starting to use this space for special events. And I think the community saw that, and they wanted to see what were the other interesting ways we could activate the lagoon other than just in the summer months. So from 22 to 23, there was a transition, right? We went from broad waterfront planning over to lagoon-focused design. We released an RFP in May of 2022. Nuves was selected as a design firm, and that's when the project-specific community engagement began. And so this is the outreach we conducted for the lagoon-specific design. You'll see we did pop-ups, we did in-person community meetings, and again, you see below the feedback we received, right? Again, year-round access. We also started hearing about lap swimming and some additional shade in that space. We did provide opportunities to talk about the site itself and the circulation in that side. Do you want to see more sand? Do you want to see more green space? What about the fencing, the view into the ocean? Right now we have chain link. Do you want to see something different? Do we want a promenade? How do we engage with a promenade? What does that look like? And then when we talked about buildings too and the amenities on site, what character do you want the architecture there to have? And do you want more amenities like food trucks? Is there better usage of the space? Is there a different location you want to see those buildings? Do you want to open it up a bit more so you have more view into the coast and into the water? So that we collected all this information to help feed into the eventual design of the lagoon. And we brought that design to the Harbor Commission in September of 2024. The commission reviewed multiple design options that came out of the community feedback. And all of them included variations on building placement, how the promenade was configured, even talk about wave maker feasibility. And at the end, the commission voted unanimously to recommend building placement option 2 and then promenade design option 2. And at the time in 2024, the full build out was estimated at around $31 million. That was for all phases of the project. But phase 1 was estimated to be about $7 million. So after we received Harbor Commission feedback, we went to the City Council. They agreed with the Harbor Commission and went with design option 2. And design option 2 included some key elements that the community really wanted to see in that space, including the lagoon being combined with a lap swimming facility. So a water feature that isn't just the lagoon, but also offers lap swimming for the community. Recreational amenities are a little more beef up of the recreational amenities in that space, as well as some feedback on the building. So they want to increase the building height to 2 stories and provide more operational useful space for our staff there right now. And then they also agreed, the council agreed, hey, we don't have the funding for that right now. We should do this in phases. We agree with the Harbor Commission on that as well. So we were going to phase this out over the course of time as funding became available. So at this point, we went from design concept, and council and the Harbor Commission were like, okay, we're good with the design. Let's move into actual engineering and design development. So that was the next step.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
And both of those steps, both commission and council agreed to pursue entitlements for all the phases.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, for all phases. So when we started the engineering work and actually digging into like how are we going to make this design happen, we encountered 2 key constraints. The first is LA County Public Health. When we connected with them on how to best move forward with the combination of the lagoon and the lap pool, they advised that we couldn't actually do one single feature that included both. we needed to have a separate lap pool and a separate lagoon. And Nuvis can speak to that in more detail if the commission wants to delve into that a bit more deeply. But that meant, we had to not just have a separation of the fence, but also a little bit of a setback. And then we had to have separate amenities that served the pool and separate amenities that served the lagoon as well. So when we did that, when we moved forward with that type of design, we saw that the cost estimates did increase significantly just for phase one, and it went to over $16 million. And then the second constraint we came across were geotechnical conditions. So when we looked at the water table, we saw that we had high groundwater, and that if we excavated below 3.5 feet, we would hit water, and it just made it very difficult to design to the depth without considering other significant costs associated with that, including dewatering or putting in sheet pile systems to keep the water from coming in, essentially creating a floating pool if we're not careful with that. So these are just constraints that came out of that after we had the concept approved. And then we also were considering all this alongside a budget. We had $7.9 million left over from the grant. And so staff and Nuvis were like, okay, we have limited funding. We have direction from council. What can we accomplish with the funding we have? We need to go back to council and let them know where we're at right now. We can't do what it is that they wanted us to do. So we did that. And so we went to council in April and shared that news that we couldn't move forward with the concept they had approved in 2024. And instead, here's a pared back version. We still hit key project elements that you see in the blue box over there on the right. And my colleague John will go into those details a little further on as well. But they reviewed the refined project concept. They did add a few elements to it, knowing that we would have to probably pull from Quimby funds to fund that. It's beyond the $7.9 million. But looking forward and projecting what we might receive in Quimby fees, we think we can add some additional elements like updated fencing. So there's like glass fencing or fencing that we can actually see through to the ocean and kind of feel that accessibility while you're in that space. They wanted to get new sand, so it's a little nicer, a little cleaner, a little easier to manage. They gave us guidance on, sand entry so that younger children can still play in the sand in the water, but have a concrete bottom so that turbidity isn't an issue, and our lifeguards have an easier time seeing into the lagoon when people are in the water in the deeper ends. So we've received all that feedback from them, and we still hit some pretty key project items over there, including, we're able to completely redo the infrastructure at the lagoon, including all the outdated infrastructure issues that we're currently encountering in that space. We get a new lagoon, we get a water slide, we still have the fountain and the splash features. We're able to do lap swimming buoys, not a separate lap pool. We get a new equipment and pump building, and we also get a new luau shelter. And then we're able to open it year-round. We're going to have removable fencing that will separate the water area from the sand area. And we are shifting the lagoon a little bit north, so we create more sand space. And that way there's more available space to potentially in the future phases, actually build out fire pits and lounge areas for the community to use year-round. And that way we open it up 12 months a year. So with that, this is the transition point to the community development folks over here, but this is what we received from the City Council in April of this year, and that's what you'll be reviewing tonight are these project details. So with that, Mark?
Yeah, good evening, Chair and Commission. As Director House has stated, my name is Mark Weiner. I'm Director of Community Development for the city. This project is being reviewed by my department. We're also working on the entitlement process for it, which is why I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about what the Commission's role is and what the process is moving forward. We also have our senior planner, John Champa, who's going to speak a little more about the project details. So this project and the location is somewhat unique in terms of the work being done and the fact that it's in the Coastal Commission's permitting jurisdiction. Normally projects would come before the Harbor Commission and you would be the approval authority for a conditional use permit for a new use down in the waterfront area, or a coastal development permit, or a design review application, which would normally be for a building or vertical work. For this particular location, it is in the Coastal Commission's jurisdiction to issue a coastal development permit. Most of the city has the authority to do that. However, they retain jurisdiction in this area. Because it's an existing use and it's a city facility, it does not require a conditional use permit. And our initial thought was maybe a design review would apply to this, but after reviewing the code a little more closely, the real intent of that is for its structures, not park improvements. So there are no local entitlements that are going to be issued for this project. The only entitlement is a coastal development permit, and the city will be submitting an application to the California Coastal Commission for that. Nonetheless, the commission's role for this project, while you're not reviewing or approving any entitlements tonight, and neither will the council be when they meet on this in September, the commission's role is advisory to the city council. You're going to be advising and making recommendations to the city council on this project for them to consider prior to the city submitting it to the Coastal Commission. And you're also going to make recommendations on the Coastal Development Permit or CDP application that we will be submitting. And I do want to note with the CDP application, we have been working closely with the Coastal Commission over the past 2 years. They are familiar with the project. We've answered a lot of questions ahead of time. So they are anticipating receiving that, and we look forward to submitting that soon, because it can be a lengthy and rigorous process getting through the Coastal Commission since this is in their jurisdiction. So I just wanted to clarify what the commission's role is, what the entitlement process is. After you review this project and make recommendations, it will go to the city council next for consideration before we send it off to Coastal. So with that, I'm available for questions throughout the meeting if you have questions about the Coastal Development Permit or the process. But now I will turn it over to John to speak a little more about the project details.
Before you go on, can I ask one quick question, with your permission? In some of the agendas in our, we had an agenda, we had minutes from a city council meeting in our agenda packet. In some of that, it mentioned, this is back on the April 21st meeting, and some of that it mentioned going to Coastal Commission, I think on April 23rd. Did that happen, or has Coastal Commission seen anything yet?
They've reviewed the plans and they've provided preliminary comments. We have not submitted a formal application yet because we need a decision from the city council as to whether it supports, whether it authorizes that plan and authorizes the submittal of the application.
Okay, all right, thanks.
So that was a typo, or it's going to a future one, I guess?
I'm not sure what was in that prior staff report. It may have been a reference to either that was the original anticipated date and we weren't able to meet it, or the fact that we've been engaging with Coastal Commission and have met with the staff.
Latter. It's the latter. So I think the city manager may have spoken to a meeting we're having that same week with Coastal Commission staff just to get their initial feedback on it.
Yeah, just
and then given this chart, what's the reason for this special meeting tonight then versus?
So the reason, it's really just timeline, the city's goal of having this installed prior to the 2028 Olympics, and knowing that it can be a sometimes lengthy process with the Coastal Commission. We hope we've done the groundwork ahead of time to help expedite it. But it's really about the timing and trying to get this into Coastal as soon as we can. Okay, go ahead, John.
Good evening, commissioners. I'll be giving you a background and project summary as far as the Seaside Lagoon project, just to provide you some context about the property and some of its zoning regulations here. So the project site is obviously located within the harbor on the west side of the North Harbor Drive. The site is zoned Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, known as the PPRO. The site is 3.6 acres, and as previously discussed in the presentation, while it is located in the coastal zone, it is also within the Coastal Commission's permit jurisdiction, which is requiring the coastal development permit to be submitted directly to them, following city council guidance. An overall project summary before you, just to kind of build upon what Elizabeth has provided, is that this design is intended to provide a year-round use and operations of the facility. It'd also be multi-generational access. These were some of the key feedback and guidance that was provided as part of the guidance on the project, as well as public outreach. The lagoon itself will be shifted slightly to the north just to provide more usable recreational space along that sand area there to the east portion of the site. And then again, the infrastructure here would be allowing for a closed loop filtration system to address that water quality issue that has been ongoing for the last 20 plus years, as well as a pump building to provide that necessary infrastructure. As you can see on the right-hand side of the image, a new bathroom would be provided, which would provide utilization for guests of the Seaside Lagoon as well as the public walking along the promenade, so it would provide a dual function. There would be some new and upgraded fencing that would be provided along sections of the site, as well as previously mentioned, some temporary fencing that would allow the closing off of the lagoon area to provide utilization of that the flat recreational area there. Other site improvements that would be incorporated into the overall site would be the new luau shade structure, as well as hardscape and landscape improvements. The improvements would be enhanced here to provide ADA access where there have been some, it is not providing that currently. And then again, this design and the reconfiguration of the space is providing opportunistic areas for special events, and the overall project design has been evaluated to ensure that all the key necessary requirements for Measure E, as well as the King Harbor Amenities Plan, have been complied with. So to talk specifically about the lagoon elements of the project, this would be, one, we have the aerial rendering photo at the top, and then we have a cross section of the lagoon, which is a little bit split there where you're seeing the jog in the image. But ultimately what this will be providing is a walk-in beach entry along that whole sand perimeter, which is intended to be, again, friendly to all generations. So young kids as well as adults will be able to enter in easily. And that initial area will be a sandy bottom that will be essentially closed off with a dividing wall, which will have those buoys, as you can see, running along that aerial rendering image, just to provide a identification and location of that dividing wall. Then as you progress past the dividing wall, you have the deeper bottom of approximately 5 feet, which would allow for more recreational swimming. As Elizabeth had mentioned, there would be buoys located here to provide a lap swimming opportunity. Again, more sand area would be added around the perimeter of the lagoon to provide just a more enhanced recreational amenities here. And then just one last element, sorry, I forgot to mention, there again will be a slide element as well as water features that will be accessible to the public. So the project was initially evaluated for CEQA compliance, and based on the scope of the project that's before you this evening, as well as the project that's the project design, it does qualify for 2 CEQA exemptions, one being the 15301 existing facilities. This is due to the fact that this facility is existing. Key component of the project is really the rehabilitation and modernization of the critical infrastructure here. So it's upgrading the mechanical systems, utilities, hardscape improvements here. The lagoon is still a continued use in terms of its recreation and is not resulting in any intensification or new uses that are proposed as part of it. In addition to that, the 15302 replacement and reconstruction, which is a Class 2 exemption, also qualifies in that, again, this is an existing facility. It's really supporting the new and enhanced infrastructure that's being incorporated into it with the new pump and filtration system that's being incorporated in. So it is qualifying for those two exemptions. And with that, the next steps as part of this process is to, again, present the Harbor Commission's input to the City Council in their September meeting, as well as provide, if approved by the City Council, submitting the project application to the Coastal Commission for the required coastal development permit. And then once successful, then moving forward with the development of the construction plans as well as specifications for bidding to be able to award the contract, begin construction, and complete the project before the start of the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. So that concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions you may have.
Roger, you want any questions?
Sure, thanks a lot. Thanks for all the detail. Thanks for everybody attending. Thanks for everybody caring about the harbor. I'm disappointed this isn't a regular meeting. Our agendas this year have been really light. If you look back at our meetings this year, January we covered leasing, no items for action. February was a harbor master's report. March was canceled. April, we had city manager came and requested input to the budget, and he gave us a summary of the strategic plan. We never discussed the strategic plan here. May, we had another leasing meeting. Again, we're up to May now, not a single item for action. June was canceled. July was a harbor master meeting, another safety report. August was a police report. We've had no items for action this year. I've been here for 8 years. It's like going back to the CenterCal days where we couldn't discuss anything because of the CenterCal lawsuit having us gridlocked. You know, we've had really empty agendas this year. So I'm sorry this has to be a special meeting and couldn't have been a regular meeting. I know staff is busy. We're busy too. On page 29 of the presentation you gave to the City Council back on April 21st, I'm disappointed that Harbor Commission is not listed in the group that was working on this. We used to work on this with everyone. So now some specific questions. Can someone explain the 5-foot depth and bulkhead in greater detail to me? I haven't figured that out. I'm not sure how you manage the 5-foot depth with sea level rise or with a high water level, how you avoid stubbing your toes or hitting your head on it, how that works, how you get sand on one side, you don't get sand on the other. Do you want to keep sand on one side and out of the pool filters? How's it work?
Okay, so I'm Perry Cardoza, Nuvis Landscape Architects. We also have our engineer from Pace Engineering is in the audience as well. So the concept for the pool and the sand, it's been a challenge from the beginning because of the filtration systems, because of turbidity concerns, requests to reach certain depths for playability and fun, keeping fountains active in certain areas. So those are some of the goals, and plus buoy lap swimming, so providing a deep side. Once we started developing concepts, we realized with the geotech report that we weren't able to reach the depths for the swimming, that 5-foot area. We could hit 4 foot in depth primarily without, again, we will have special engineering. Right now, we're at about 30% drawings on this concept. So we're still fine tuning the mix for the concrete bottom so it doesn't float. So we're analyzing those with our engineering team. The one way that we were able to save a foot from digging down is to raise the bulkhead by 1 foot. So in order to do that, we're working with our structural team. In fact, we just met with them this week on how we're going to raise the lid, but with, say, an example, a Trex deck. We're going to do something light to it, and we have to structural engineer make sure that we're not adding too much weight to the lid of that.
Yeah, so I understand the bulkhead on one side. What's on the other side? Is it still a sand slope or is it a wall?
So we looked at that. Actually, we came up with a lot of scenarios on that. Ultimately, we landed with a coping per se. It'll be about 18 inches that will identify what that edge is. We had come up with concepts that buried that edge and keeping it bullnose so it wouldn't, kids dig. People coming in and out, we determined that the safety aspect of it, it's better to identify it, make it visual where you can see it, bullnose the back so there's no stubbing, and then also in the front. We're going to drop off when we get into the water 18 inches so we can transition to a 3-foot depth sooner than having, all that will have a foot of sand on top of it. So the way that we're designing to keep the sand in place, because I think that was one of the comments as well, is that imagine this as a skateboard park that's underwater. So there's going to be bumps, and instead of vertical steps to hold the sand where you won't see them in the water, there's going to be transitions in the concrete that the sand will stay in place. It's not a perfect situation. We can't keep the sand from migration, but we can control it as much as possible. And then once you get to the deep side, there'll be no sand or very little coming off the kids' feet from the slides and whatnot. So you'll have some sand in there, but it won't be a critical. We're not seeing that as a big.
So do we have known pool filtration systems that can handle that amount of sand?
Yes. So we have our expert in the audience. I don't know if we can grab a microphone or up to the top.
Yes is fine, as long as somewhere out there there's a fielded system that's working in a park.
Yes.
I mean, one of the reasons I bring that up is we've got, we put a shower in on the side of Seaside Lagoon for the hand launch. It doesn't work. We can't keep a shower working. So.
Because of the sand buildup?
Because we don't have the maintenance budget because of whatever it is. And so I'm concerned that, today we're fighting water quality issues and tomorrow we'll be fighting sand clogging the filter issues.
Can I introduce
Sure.
Zhang from our PACE engineering team?
Yes, we met before in earlier days, but we are thinking about how to avoid the sand issue in clogging the filtration system. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We were, one is how to avoid sucking or taking the sand into the system. So we will strategically locate the intake above the floor a little bit, because that's why we have a vertical wall. So we utilize the vertical wall instead of taking the water and sand from bottom. But we still have the bottom intake, but that bottom intake is not going to the sand filter or pumping and sand filter directly. We'll utilize that for drainage or minor, minimum recirculation purpose. But then we don't take sand into the filtration system. Then you don't need to worry about, the maintenance.
So the intake is 6 inches off the bottom or something, and when you get a couple inches of sand, you start to vacuum it or sweep it out or something.
Right. Also, there's very minimum sand on the bottom of the deep area that can be vacuumed out easily. Just like vacuum the pool, you have dirt and everything, the sand can be vacuumed out through a portable vacuum system. Then the sand can be dumped back into the sand beach area.
Okay. So the filtration system won't be grabbing sand, but will be grabbing debris and other things we want to get out of the pool?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything floating or in the water, that will be filtered out.
Thanks. Thank you.
No problem.
Now I've got questions about the 3.5 foot high tide line. So the number 3.5 feet is in there. What year is that based on? Is that today's high tide line or the 2050 or the state guidelines on sea level rise?
Not sea level rise.
Okay, so this doesn't accommodate the state guidelines on sea level rising, so we're building something that's not good in 2050.
I think that was brought up early on are we designing to 2050 or are we designing for now? Because the seawall, everything that affects this design would have had to be raised, I believe it was 2 feet. And so in our initial discussions about this topic, it was determined that we would design to now, not for the additional 2-foot height, because the building would be lost. There's a lot of dominoes that went with it, and I think the determination at that point 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, was to just not consider that 2 feet.
It's not 2 feet. State guidelines are 0.8 feet, 9.6 inches by 2050, and then they have a range 1.6 to 3.1 feet by 2100.
I believe.
So it's disappointing we're not even doing the 2050.
Yeah, I believe in the amenities report, and I'll have to look at that, but I think it was 2 feet mentioned in that report.
Okay.
But I can verify, but regardless.
The amenities report should point to the state document. What happens when the sea level does come up? How long does it have to come up? Like, is one high tide enough, or is it, is it 6 months of sea level rise, or, what damage do you see? Does the cement section float? Does the liner just deform or get a sinkhole under it? How bad is 1 day of?
I can't answer that. I can't answer that.
Okay.
But we can certainly bring that to our geotech's attention and see if we can get a.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it in this Harbor Commission, but we often get 7-foot high tides on a king tide. We get them every December, and in the part of the harbor I'm usually in the middle of the harbor, on the sidewalks near the Harbor Patrol office, a 7-foot high tide is enough to get the sidewalk wet. If you're wearing sneakers with a 1-inch sole, your sneakers, the sole of your sneaker is going to get wet, but your socks are going to be dry.
Sure.
In July, we had a 7-foot king tide with some wind behind it for the first time, and it was 7 or 8 inches deep there. So, there's days already we're seeing 7 or 8 inches of high tide. I was wearing ankle high fishing boots, 6-inch high fishing boots, and it was over the top of my boots.
So alternatively, you're thinking.
We're already seeing sea level rise. We're already seeing these issues.
So a 3-foot depth of the lagoon would be acceptable, or a 2.5?
I don't know, but it concerns me that you don't know if one high tide and 1 hour of high tide is enough to damage the liner or concrete.
But I will find that out for you from our geotech specialist.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. I have questions about the lap pool separation. The lap pool, I remember, was in the wintertime, we would lower the water level, open up more sand area, put a mobile fence in, give people more sand. And hey, in the wintertime, things are cold, so we're not going to have, a big pool area where a lot of people want to come and recreate, but there's still going to be a few crazy people who will swim in the ocean year round. So we'll lower the water level and have a smaller water feature, and that's going to be the lap pool. Is that the lap pool the county wanted a separate walkway around?
Correct, from what I
So,
understand, yes.
yeah, so essentially they didn't, okay, all right, thanks. So they wanted a wintertime only walkway that would be submerged in the summertime. It seems like we could accommodate that somehow, and it seems like this plan still kind of accommodates that. So now this plan has no water in the wintertime, or how does that work?
So it can. So we're about a foot or so lower from the water level to the top of that wall that keeps it separated.
Okay.
And so since the initial meeting with the health department, they had made a determination that they needed to be separated. We brought that back for review with the city. What that meant was a minimum of 6-foot walk separation with a 5-foot high fence between the bay and the middle of the lagoon, which aesthetically would kill the whole shot of what we're trying to do, because you need lifeguards to be able to run around and have access to the deep water portion. And so we designed for a separate lap pool that you had seen, which triggered additional restrooms because of the health department rules. Since then, they had come back and reevaluated, and because we are over a 20,000 square feet, they said you can put that swim lagoon or that lap piece back into the pool. So we went from originally what we had discussed at Harbor Commission, putting it in the lagoon, health department taking it out because of specific reasons, with them reevaluating and saying, no, you can put it back into the pool, and that's what you're seeing now. So the 16 million roughly estimate came with the full, landscape in phase 2 and 3, plus a standalone lap pool that was separated from the lagoon. If that makes.
It does, thanks. You mentioned the restroom, and the document mentions it's a prefabricated restroom. Is that something like, the mobile trailer that shows up at Beach Life, or, is it something that's going to hold up to
It'll be
years in the weather right on the water?
Yes, it'll be similar to this. So those are prefab. We use those in parks all the time when the budgets are such that we can't do custom. But these are custom, and they're brought out to the site. They're plumbed. They have electrical. They have sewer connections. And what we're trying to do is match the pump house architecture, which we're using something similar to what the existing building has, with the painted white slumpstone or block, and it'll be very similar to that in the pump house. So the three pieces of architecture have some continuity.
So the city installed a shower kind of in the same location, just at the end of the hand launch. For a while, it was blue. It was, powder coated aluminum or something. That one quit working, went away. There's now a stainless shower there. That doesn't work. Given that the city doesn't seem to have the ability to maintain or, have the budget to keep a shower working, and budgets are tight. That's why we keep talking about reduced scope. What's this bathroom going to be like in a couple of years? If can we keep the shower on this bathroom working? Thanks. Okay.
Yes. And you're right. It's difficult to maintain anything they build by the waterfront. It takes a beating out there. The goal is always to maintain and operate as much and as often as possible and repair as soon as we can. And unfortunately, we don't have a colleague from our public works team here, but we will do what we can within the budget and manpower that we have, as always. And, we've talked about this with council because we have a lot of new amenities coming online throughout the city. We just had Wilderness Pond. There's a cost to ownership. So when we build these things, we do have those conversations with the city council. You don't buy a car and not think about oil and gas and changing the tires. You have to think about ongoing maintenance. And that's what we have to do here. And that's part of our process. If the council does move forward with guiding us towards the Coastal Commission, like, we like this design, move forward with it. Here's the cost estimate for building. Our next task as operators of the lagoon, along with our colleagues in Public Works, we have been asked to go ahead and study operational costs moving forward, what it means to own a vacuum to clean up the sand, what it means to have a shower and shower another restroom. We have to do that work ahead of time before this comes online, because sometimes we build things and forget that we need to keep them nice.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about that ultimately. That's I haven't even gotten to that yet, but that's one of my main decision points in this package is, the city budget hasn't come back the way I'd hoped. We're back to those days where we're talking about, cutting a head here, half a head there.
Yeah.
And, we don't have a waterfront director anymore. It's tough.
Yeah.
But, going back to some more technical questions about this, we now have shallower depth. We still have a water slide. That water slide is going to be smaller, right? It's not going to be the big, cool, 15-foot high tube we have now. If you have less water depth, you can't have a high altitude water slide.
Right now, we're reusing the one that's out there currently. We're going to attach that to the new lid just for cost purposes.
Okay. So
If we-
same water slide into 5 feet of water with concrete on it.
Yes,
Cool. Is it salt or fresh water now?
fresh,
Okay.
chlorinated, yes.
So one of the main things we heard was that, we wanted this to be an introduction for families and kids to get kids in the ocean. And, we talked about keeping it salt or partly salt. I think one of the issues with it being salt is when you go to drain it, you can't just, pour that into a sewer or a storm drain. You've got to manage the salt. So for cost savings, we've gone with fresh water. Okay. So that's a big knock against one of the, fundamental guidelines we heard in the amenities plan is wanting to keep this thing salt water for kids to learn to go in the ocean. That's disappointing. And again, you read this package and you just hear, reduced scope, minimal cost, do it in phases over and over again. It's disappointing. One of the ideas we had, one of the strong signals we heard back in the amenities plan days was that people wanted to use this year-round and have year-round access. One of the best ideas we had, one of the only ideas we had was just open up the fence line. And we had ideas for, rolling fences, movable fences, magical fences that would rise out of the ground hydraulically, like, bollards in the street at a farmer's market. We had a lot of ideas, but, nothing really proven, nothing that would work in the sand. Do we have anything proven now? Do we, is it just a rolling fence that people put out there? Does it happen daily, seasonally?
So right now, good question, because that is for a low technology question. It's caused a lot of conversations and trying to solve that problem. Right now, where we're landing on, since it does need to be removable, and it could be, one of the ideas is it's just a rented construction, type of fence with the footings that are wide feet that are buried in the sand. And so there's not, the problem by putting sleeves in sand is that they'll become exposed and someone will inadvertently trip on something. If they're mechanical and come up with the sand is going to get into the components and that's not going to work. So we're looking at something that could be easily taken apart in panels, stacked. Let's just say it is a rental company that owns it. Now we're not using city staff to try to assemble, take apart, put together fencing, and then store it someplace. So that has not been 100%. Again, we're a little past 30% in our drawings. So there's still some design development happening within this process.
So it'd be some rented and installed fence,
It could be.
something that would go up at the end of the season, something would go up after Labor Day and come down before Memorial Day, and then give people access to the open space, the dry space, that 9 months of the year.
Right. And if the city wants to purchase that and have them do it, then we'll design some staging areas for that to be stored on site.
Yeah, and then in future phases, if funding is found, those open spaces could have, cabanas, picnic tables, fire pits, volleyball courts, that kind of stuff. But
That's
for
correct.
right now, that open space is, I read the city council motion, that open space is sand, no sod, just sand.
Right. So our first pass at this did show the fire pits, and it had a concrete walk that we could have definition for posts to be put in between to find the sand and the barbecue areas. And so that lent itself perfect for temporary poles to come in and out through sleeves because it was in concrete. And then we had turf behind it. For other reasons, now we've diverted back to all sand, but next phase, that whole piece could be introduced back in. So a temporary fence solution works fine at this phase because the best is yet to come once that sand gets redesigned in the fire pits and the walkways and the lawn, if that's still part of the program.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any other technical questions at this point. I have, more stuff I'd like to talk about after other people ask questions, but I'm kind of surprised to say this, but hearing that this thing doesn't accommodate 2050 level sea level rise, and we don't know how much sea level rise impacts the structure, I'm not voting for this. So I'm happy to sit here all night. For the first time in 8 years, I brought a charger for my iPad. I'm also willing to make a motion right now saying, I don't support this, and see how the rest of you guys feel. And we can all go home for dinner.
We have to go through comments and, I mean,
Certainly.
you can certainly, I think the motion is ill-timed. I also think that if you do have more things to say, I don't know when else you're gonna say them, so.
Other people may cover them, so I'll.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I too am quite disappointed, but I can also see where we're at, what we have 7.9 million left in the budget, and it just keeps getting more expensive. In fact, I don't even, there's a lot of talk of Quimby funds to make out the gap, right? I don't even know how guaranteed those are to even get them, right? So we sort of are in a rock in a hard place, but to Roger's point, that we're not taking into account sea level rise is pretty stunning, right? If you build something that suddenly needs a whole lot of maintenance after a big storm, that would be terrible. I'm also bothered. Well, I understand the saltwater issue, but that's a big deal, right? One of the part of this deal is to get kids used to the ocean water, and this is pool water, really. So that's. But I understand how you got there, but it's sad. CEQA, and right now you've got CEQA exemptions because we're not changing much, right? We're just modernizing. So if you did add something like a wave pool feature, would that undo these two exemptions? Or one of the exemptions? Do you see what I'm saying? If you suddenly said, oh, let's add a wave pool, that's a pretty big enhancement.
It would likely take it off the track of being an exemption if the city were to really expand the scope of the use and change some of the features. There'd be more grading involved, more groundwork. So yes, it would likely take it out of the exemption category.
Okay, because that's kind of a big deal. This is kind of just on the side. You have this informal lap swim area, but what's keeping? How is anybody? I mean, going to be swimming around people essentially. Is that how it works? You have these two boys out there. I don't know how workable that is. You know, as far as it sounds nice to have an informal lap pool, but I don't know that it's all that workable. And I guess finally, is the funding, as this thing gets delayed, is the funding at risk?
So it's a great question. Dave, do you have a moment to speak to the funding and when we received it, as well as when it wraps up and our ability to go ahead and extend that funding?
Yes, thank you, Dave Schrobe, Senior Management Analyst with the Waterfront Department. And yes, our current contract with the Department of Parks and Recreation, State Department of Parks and Recreation, expires on June 30th of 2028. There is a chance that we could ask for an extension on that term. We would submit the paperwork to the grantor. The grantor would then submit that to the state. At that point, it's in the state's hands whether or not they want to extend our term or not, and we really wouldn't have much of a say in it.
Okay, I guess my biggest hangup is the discussion about sea level rise and what happens in, our first king tide. I mean, I think that needs to be looked at, right?
No, we certainly will. It's a great point to make, and we can do that work well ahead of time at the council meeting so that we have that information prepared, and perhaps we have to adjust again.
Yeah, we can look maybe. We can look at the footprint to see how far that domino effect reaches with that sea rise.
If you tell me, one bad storm and hey, the liner might move a little bit, okay. But, if you tell me, one bad storm and the cement area is floating off like a boat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a little more troubling.
Sure. Well,
We'd rather know than not know.
Yes.
That's a great point.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we've had sinkholes in Mulby.
Yeah.
But this feels like we're, in other words, that we're kind of between a rock and a hard place here, because if we don't move forward on this, it may never happen, right? And really, I mean, the Seaside Lagoon it needs work, right? I mean, we're being fined, it's ancient infrastructure. Yet, if we do move forward, it looks like there's not been enough thought put into this as well, right? I mean, my opinion.
I do want to address the sea level rise concern. We haven't spoken directly with Coastal Commission about this, but their position on sea level rise is really managed retreats. They would rather see that they're not supportive of seawalls to protect infrastructure generally. So they could take an issue if the city were proposing to raise the grade and put a seawall along this area to protect it from sea level rise. Their preference based on the science is that the sea level will rise and it will shift the beach further inland over time, and there'll be a natural progression as opposed to armoring the shorelines. That's just one thing to consider, but we could definitely engage with the Coastal Commission because they're ultimately going to be the deciding factor on that.
Yeah, if I may, I'm sorry. I agree with that. We've read their sea level rise documents. We've done sea level studies at Harbor Commission. We've seen a lot of data from Noble and Associates. I would be concerned about putting something in that doesn't accommodate and is damaged by it. It's just a waste of money, you know, and we may find that a dewatering system put in now is the way to manage it and cheaper than repairing this thing and, you know, fighting battles with the liner every year. And which would get us more depth and a better answer for, you know, a little cost up front right now.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern.
I think the dewatering was $1.5 million, something in that neighborhood. You know, I can see us spending $1.5 million fighting concrete cracks and liner leaks and moving sand back and forth, you know, to fix a liner in a sinkhole. I can see us spending that $1 million pretty quickly between now and 2050.
Yeah, so I don't like the current position we're in. It basically that's basically it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable rejecting it out of hand. I don't know, because you see what I'm saying. If it gets rejected and delayed, the money's shrinking, right? We're not. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for me.
On the sea level rise, as part of the subcommittee for the Harbor Commission, or for the lagoon, I remember that meeting, we did say we were moving forward with accounting for sea level rise, and you might have said it and I didn't hear it because I was stunned that the answer was no, but I think there was like 2 dates of consideration for sea level rise, and we weren't gonna plan for the one that was like way out, but we were planning for the nearer one, and I don't remember if that was 2050 or what, but not today. So that is
Yeah, there's a 2030 number, which is here now, and a 2050 number, which generally the city's agreed to build to, and a 2100 number, and
that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was 2100 versus 2050.
We're not building something that's going to last 75 years.
Right.
We're hopefully building something that's going to last 25 years. So we should look at the 2050 number, not the 2100 number.
I had a question. Until an email that went out at 3:41 p.m. today, this subcommittee and the Harbor Commission never saw any picture that had actually been, you know, gone through some notable design that included a separate, no kidding, lap pool. So I think you said we've seen it. No, not till tonight. But when was that health department meeting?
April of 24, I believe. No, 25, April of 25.
Okay.
Zarang, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm hearing disconnects in like the details from like what I'm hearing tonight, what's on the agenda packet details, and what happened or what was stated and reviewed at the April 2026 City Council meeting about like this is just one of them where, yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Also just on the lap pool, it's been a frustration for a couple years now that, yes, the amenities plan set, wished for a lap pool. We did look at that in the very, very beginning, and for cost, space, that wasn't pursued. But then we kept calling it a lap pool when we had Roger had the idea of putting buoys in. And it has created a lot of confusion in the community, and because it's taken a whole extra year to get to where we are today, it's creating more confusion when this is not a lap pool, it's 2 buoys that you can lap swim. That provides a function, but we can't keep calling it a lap pool, and it's just creating confusion of like, oh, you took the lap pool away. No, it's just buoys. So if we could just stop that, please. There is reusing the slide. I don't think that's a great idea. I don't know if you've ever been down the slide. Definitely can speak to some teens that are getting cut up on the slide in the summertime. So it's seen better days. You said the design drawings are at 30%. The document we were sent a couple hours ago said 90% entitlement. So what does that disconnect mean?
The entitlement is separate from design development. So basically, and we were at 100% since then. We needed to get something fast. So in the 90%, there's not a big difference. A little bit more information on notes on the schematic design package, entitlement package, which translates into now there will be no more color on the plans that we're having now. It'll be strictly AutoCAD, a lot more dimensions, details, and so that's where we're transitioning now. No more pretty pictures. Now we're doing into working drawings, and it equates roughly about 30% of construction drawings.
Okay, thanks for that.
You got it.
So in 2024, when the commission and the city council approved that design and we moved forward, it was to get entitlements for all the phases. So have we done the work for all the phases, or did we stop?
At the April meeting, the city council directed us to move forward with entitlements just for phase 1.
Okay. But what about in the year and a half prior where we were working on the entitlement process? We didn't do any work on phase 2, 3, 4?
We did an entitlement process. We carried through with entitlement package for the separate lap pool from the lagoon. So that image I did share earlier today with the commission. But that's the one that generated the $60 million cost estimate.
Okay, so like Promenade phase 4, didn't do anything on that yet?
Not for this iteration, no.
I forget, I mean, I know the dollar amount that we say we already used, was this a firm fixed effort that we are executing right now? Firm fixed price effort?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm just curious, all this work that we're have on contract now, was that a firm fixed price contract? A set cost, not like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a not to exceed on it, correct.
For a scope of work that included all the entitlements?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm concerned about schedule. So in that October 2024 meeting, Nuvis said it would take, you can do these kinds of things in 12 months, but since we're on sand, it takes 18 months. I think now we were at a much deeper lagoon, and now you're presenting something much shallower. Is the 9 months that's quoted now strictly because we're not digging as deep or digging at all?
So the way that we backed in, you're looking at the new construction schedule?
I've absorbed so many documents in the last 48 hours.
No problem. So what we did was we have a goal of the Olympics of 2028, and where we are now, we know that environmental is going to take a pretty good chunk of time from that. We are proceeding fully on to the next level, which is 60% drawings. So we have all of our subconsultants working. The snapshot of 30% was.
I see what you're saying.
So we're moving forward, but we backed out to try to meet the goal of finishing prior to the Olympics. And we feel confident, our team does, that we can meet that deadline with the drawings and the design as they stand now.
I thought it was just the construction was going to take 18 months. And now you're presenting 9 or 10 months.
But just to clarify, you were referencing meeting minutes from the October meeting you had said. So that's from
October
2024.
when City Council approved it, they were questioning how fast can we build this? And Nuvis said 18 months.
And that was the prior design.
You're
so
right.
Perhaps paring back and going to reduce scope is what also reduced the timeline.
Yes, that's
I think
correct.
that's what you're asking. Is that correct?
Yeah, how are we saving
Time.
How are we going 50% faster?
Yeah. I think it's because we're reducing
the
the scope.
bulbs.
You're reducing the scope. If you want a ballpark, we're looking at April 13th, 2027 for award contract for construction. And then finishing up prior to the Olympics in 2028.
Yes, I read all that. I just didn't know how we're going faster when.
Smaller scope, smaller project.
Okay, those aren't really specific words. Why was the building placement changed from what was approved in October 2024? We had building placement option 2, for example, pumps and all that were not located where they're shown here. Why did we deviate from that?
So let me address that one. So based on budget, we're keeping the existing building now as is, protect in place, and
Which
then
building?
the existing.
Ticket building?
Yes, the ticket building, administration
Right.
building, the one that, so
That
we're
was
going to,
the same, and
no, we
prior
were going to
phase one.
demo.
for the prior phase 1, there was
it
no
was-
buildings.
Yeah, it was similar. We added a second story to it. We tried to keep,
But not for phase 1, that was gonna be phase 3.
it was, but we were going through the whole entitlement package all at one time back in that moment. So we showed demo of the existing building, but keeping a very similar type of look. So the community, we gave 3 options for the community to vote on. Ultimately, I think that was probably one of the leaser voted on concepts. They liked a little bit more of the modern, contemporary look to it. And so in all phases during that period of time, that building was going to be demoed, and we would build it knowing that that phase of the building construction would have to be phased, because that alone, that building could be, $15 million or something. We don't know. We never got to that final design, just conceptual design on what that building and placement
Yeah, that's
would be.
fine, I'm not talking about that building. The pump building was going to be placed like in the
Yes.
area closer to the parking lot.
Yes, and that was a part of that new building, but because.
And you were saying like, we're not gonna, we're gonna put the pumps here, we're not gonna close them up and make it look pretty because it's temporary.
At this,
Those were all your words.
at this point, we can't do that.
So I'm just asking why, there was no reason to move those, other than like, hey, let's get a building, let's redo the luau now. I don't understand what would have prompted that.
So the pump building is going to be approximately 15 feet high by, rough dimensions, maybe 50 feet by. It's large. And to try to, and all that goes back to the water quality and the maintenance of the lagoon. So in concept level, when we were showing and the pretty pictures of the design and how we wanted to look aesthetically, at some point we needed to put together the actual footprint of that building and working with the pump manufacturers on the exact size of those tall pieces of equipment, plus be able to manage forklift within the building to move things, to take, it's heavy equipment. So the design has changed from what we thought maybe back 2 years ago when we were coming up with the concept to working drawings and really looking through the design and making sure that we do have something that's designed appropriately for the amount of maintenance and water quality that we're looking for. So we didn't want to lock ourselves in to one location. Ultimately, as the design progressed, we put it in where we thought would be the best accessibility for the
It was
equipment.
right, they were gonna be right in closest to the parking lot before, or that entrance. I'm just,
Yeah, this is.
I'm not hearing why, and the city council and the Harbor Commission voted on a placement, and so it's just frustrating that they were moved with zero conversation.
So this is a 15-foot, we needed that span, so we
maybe
took it
that, you're
out of the
saying you
view.
didn't realize the sizing of them
Yeah, we
when the
did,
building
sure.
placement vote was held? Is that?
Yeah, the specifics of where that, the building, the actual new building wasn't determined. Everything was in flux back then because we were determining, the lagoon had moved probably 3 or 4 times from that original meeting because we needed to, it evolved as we were going through the details. And so putting the new pump building in the location where it sits now doesn't block the views from the entry. And it's easy to access with big equipment from that area. And then we have the trash trucks that are coming to unload.
Okay.
It just made the
I'm
most
good
sense.
on that question now. Can you explain, in the picture that you'd pulled up on page, it's like 67 through 69 of the agenda packet that shows the depth, the existing depth of the lagoon is, well, on that drawing, it shows it at 7.28 feet. In practice, when you're in the lagoon, it's easily 10 feet. Why can't we get anything close to the depth that we have today? Why are we going to 3.5 to 5 feet only?
So having a sand bottom with no concrete really makes the difference because there's really nothing to float. It's going with the tide, it's salt water, it's all mixing, and there's really no hard barrier that we're trying to keep potable, chlorinated, water quality level, and having those two mix. Salt water that's coming up from the ground, and again, there's nothing to float because there's no bottom to a pool. It's just sand coming up to water.
That's why we can't, that's why
we can't, right.
Okay, that would explain why all along we're going with an all sandy bottom, no liner, salt water,
right,
and maintaining our depth. Up through October 2024, when this commission and our city council voted, it was all sandy bottom, deep water, ocean-like experience, not a pool. Page 60 of the packet says there's a splash pad. The vote in October 2024 did have a splash pad. Where on the diagram is that?
So during the design of the splash pad, which was roughly, I think about $500,000, maybe a little bit more, it was determined that we would put the nozzles, that splash pad experience, and incorporate that into 2 shallow areas on either end of the lagoon, and keep a very similar situation that you have now, where there'll be
yeah, I saw that.
sprays.
I meant the ones that we were having near the entrance.
The entry?
Yeah.
Yeah, we took those due to primarily costs and put those back onto the edges in the water.
Can I also touch on that very briefly? We spoke to our public works colleagues, and splash pads in any area that also has sand, ongoing maintenance of those would be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I remember talking about that. Also, and city council hit on this, talked in depth in October 2024 about options for events and making sure, and this commission too, making sure we had, conduit and electrical to support sound stages, either in on the diagram, where the sand is, or closer to where we had voted to have playground equipment like that, to the left of that or north of that. But when I look at these technical drawings, I don't see any of that being laid down to plan for the possibility of that down the road. Is that not a part of the entitlement process? I thought that would have appeared on the drawings because there are other electrical drawings in this package.
That was for the play equipment?
Yeah.
No, sound equipment for a sound stage, for a temporary sound stage.
So our electrical, our lighting designer Sound, I have to, I apologize. I need to look at his scope to see if he considered sound. He has lighting in his agreement, but sound,
Do you want to pull up the page where that would appear? It's like in the 60s.
sound, surveillance, those things, because those kind of go hand in hand, but
Yeah,
it's
but
been a
there's
few
not
years.
a lot more voltage and current for those than running some lights. So they would be notably in here if they had been accommodated as planned.
So here, that's something that we can look back at and find if,
Well, that means it's not costed, right?
correct.
And it has to be in here. There's just so many details that are just getting dropped. Does need to be in there. Not that drawing. There's another one that has electrical schematics. I was hoping someone could pull that slide up, but
Did that. Only
on page 18, it talks about articulated facades. I was just wondering specifically what was articulating. I think you were talking about the pump house and the bathroom. I don't know.
So right now, that's still in design. And so we're trying to be, we're being flexible with our architect to come up with some facades that are interesting. So they're not just flat, they have some movement in them. So we haven't seen.
Oh, not like functional, just like aesthetic, you meant by the
They're
articulation?
more aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah, more aesthetic.
I mentioned the liner very early on. We talked about not having a liner, that there were a lot of disadvantages in the long run, and we ruled that out. We ruled out potential vendors and partners. The city council asked about some vendors. We said, no, we don't want them because they only have a liner approach. So how did we end up back with a liner and, well, we already talked about the sand, but how did we end up back with hard bottom and a liner? Just the cost?
No, that,
I don't know.
we, in order to keep the salt water and the water quality, we have to have basically a concrete top underneath a liner that will be underneath that basically for waterproof. And that helps keep the system together. So we can't have concrete without a liner. It's basically those two systems
Yeah,
work
so it's
hand in
because
hand.
we went to concrete.
Yeah.
Fresh water. Yeah.
I think that's all for now. I have some, you don't mention it, you don't show it in any of the pictures here, but is there no longer a playground?
So the playground was in the design when we did the whole entitlement, because we wanted to show the architecture, the new architecture, which would dictate where the playground would go. And it just is in that sand area over sort of near where that secondary gate is by the beach club restaurant. Right now, there's 2 existing man gates. It is in that general area planned for in the future.
Okay, so not up by more close to the entrance by the parking lot that we'd
Yes.
approved, but instead closer to the harbor water?
No. It's where you.
Oh, it is the first
It
one?
is, yeah.
Oh,
Near the parking
it's
lot.
just not in this
That's correct.
package?
That's correct.
And then just to be clear, this design you would only be able to swim the same like 90 days that we have currently?
It's not heated, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm asking because of we're not having this, your previous design had a second wall that in the off-season we could have much more available open space free to the public. That is no longer in here, so we're not envisioning using the deeper end in the off months. Just clarifying that.
That's more of a programming conversation we have to have with our team. It's part of that operations conversation we'll have afterwards. I mean, we could keep it open if people are brave enough to get in cold water. It isn't heated. But we'll need
the plan
to,
is to close off like most of it, the way that,
that temporary
the way the
fence,
new design of the temporary fence
the
is.
temporary fence would close off the water. But if we determine that we would get high enough usage, that would be worth it to open it up for the community during the winter. That's part of future conversations, see how we would actually program and manage that space.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is where you show this fence, is that the only place the fence would be?
Yes.
Okay, so the bulk of the property would be still closed off. You would just only be opening up the sand. And the playground?
In the future phase, where a
Because that
playground.
playground's to the left of that entrance, so it would be left out,
It
just
hasn't-
like it is today.
Playground isn't part of phase one though, just to clarify.
Right.
No,
It's
I know
part of a
that,
future
yeah.
phase, okay.
But it would fall in the part that's off limits.
The fence is, it's really no, it's right now, it's a temporary fence. It can vary in where that is put, so.
She just said it won't vary.
Do we have, can you share that image maybe?
Sure. Yeah, Mia, would you put on my screen? Thank you.
Okay, this one is not showing the temporary fence, but in general, it would be where the two gates, it would open up the restroom, so the restroom would be open to the public, and it would, that's correct, and the fence would go between, probably through those, the edges of the volleyball courts, and then wrap back up and right around in that area and tie back into the existing fence.
Right, and you're saying that playground is just above in that grassy patch?
Nothing is,
Well, that's what I was asking, but
Yes.
then Elizabeth said, no, it's where
It could in the
shows-
future when that's what I was saying. The playground is part of phase two. When it's installed, we can always move the fencing to go around it.
Okay. That's all for now, thanks.
I don't disagree with anything they have said. However, I do want to recognize that you all have a very difficult job to do. You have to make something that will please everybody. You have to make all of these improvements that are both compliance with laws and regulations, while also making it fun and future-oriented. You have to do all this on limited funds. So while you may be taking a few punches today, I want you to understand that we're all neighbors, and we all, have the same goal in mind of having something. Like, I took my daughter down to the Seaside Lagoon for the first time the other day, and she loved it. Now, if you were coming to us and we had nothing there, it was just a patch of land, what you're saying sounds great. The problem is you're dealing with something, in my opinion, that I think in some instances is taking a step back, or it's changing the character of what makes the Seaside Lagoon something that you all went to as children and enjoyed, and why you're all sitting here on a Tuesday night. And I think that's where the rub is. I think that we spent a lot of time, none of us do this for the money. We're up here because we like the city. To be honest, we don't get any money, just to be clear. We do this because we like the city. We want to help, do our part to help improve the city the best that we can. And we all have different backgrounds. We all have different viewpoints on things, which I think is what makes this commission so unique when looking at other commissions. But then we go and we spend a lot of time over the course of several months and several meetings, and not counting what the subcommittees go through, to have this plan that we sit and we talk about into the evening, away from our families, and then to have it virtually completely changed. Yes, there are some things that are the same, but I'll tell you this, a 5-foot pool with freshwater is inherently different than what we were originally told. Now, I understand where the rubber meets the road, that the finances may not align with our goal. It would have been nice to have been told that prior to tonight, as it was realized, hey, things are changing, rather than being hit with a special meeting on a Tuesday outside of our normal schedule. So I do want to recognize again that I understand that what you're doing isn't easy, but you also have to understand that what we're trying to accomplish is different than what's on these pages. Essentially, this is no different other than the sand component, which has shrunken. This is no different from what other communities have as far as their pools. The buoys are just buoys. There's no, for the lap part, there's no rope connecting buoy to buoy, correct? A kid can wander into a person swimming. Is that correct?
Yes.
As a lap swimmer, that does not seem safe. I am not a good enough lap swimmer to be cognizant of children playing while also not drowning. So I think that it's, again, with what Commissioner Kazan said, I agree. This isn't that you can call this a lap pool, you can call it whatever you want. Just because you can do laps in it doesn't mean it's a lap pool. I can do laps in my tub. There would be a lot of laps, but it doesn't make it a lap pool. With regards to the sand, do you have any idea what the loss of sand will be through the vacuuming and the movement of the sand, and what that cost will look like to keep that sand replenished?
Yeah, that's part of the operational analysis we'll need to do as staff once we finalize this design. We'll need to review that because it'll impact how we maintain that facility and how much turbidity we'll have in the concrete bottom area.
So the biggest issue we have, at least in my opinion, that we have tonight, is that we have to determine if what's before us is worth moving forward, rather than trying to find in a future date something that aligns more with what our vision and City Council's vision was of this area, and potentially losing X million dollars. Is that accurate?
Yes.
It's a bit of a fight. It's a bit of a, yeah.
Can I just interject a question? So at some point, we have a system now that takes in ocean water, treats it, and then it spews it back out. And of course, that's old technology. And at somewhere along the line, you guys decided there isn't new technology that can do the same thing. So we had to abandon what we're currently doing. Is that right?
Or we keep paying these fines, correct? Now,
Well, sorry, if I can, one fundamental change is the power plant went away. The power plant used to be part of the filtration system.
Okay.
And that shut off. So there used to be a lot of pumped water for free,
Yes.
even heated, and that's off.
Right.
So now there's
There's a bypass
Now
that
there's
we
a Band-Aid.
do.
and you can see what that Band-Aid costs us every year.
Yeah. Right. But there's no way, there's no technical solution in a modern day world. There just isn't.
Moving water is very expensive.
It is, yeah.
It's a 15 by 100-foot building that needs forklifts, and it's.
Yeah.
Ask anybody with a pool what their electric bill is.
Because that is, this is a massive change from what we're going to, a freshwater system. It's a pool, to Ryan's point. It's a public pool with some sand around it,
All right. Actually, my mic working?
No, the light.
I'm gonna steal yours. All right, so just a few questions. I pretty much agree with everything that's been said here. One thing, what is the current usage of Seaside? I mean, I know you said you had 50,000, or was it 50 over the year? You know, so that's based over a 90-day period, correct?
That 50,000 was as of last week.
Okay.
Our attendance that we've had for this summer season.
All right, and what's typical attendance on a weekday and on a weekend?
So it varies. When summer is not in session, it can be 500. When school is in session, like it's back in session right now, it can be like 500-600 people. When school is out of session, we typically on a weekday can have about 1,200. Depending on how many field trip reservations we have. So throughout the summer, we had about 100 different camps that visited the Seaside Lagoon from anywhere from like inner city cities and then local summer camps.
That's a weekly basis or?
100 camps total that visited us this season.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, so that's,
Yes.
so it sounds like primarily the majority of your visitors are for summer camps and are not really community. They basically come to Seaside Lagoon on a bus, play around.
Not the majority,
Okay.
a big chunk of them during the weekdays. And then we also have our local families that come that like to visit the Seaside Lagoon when it's in the morning times weekday. During the weekends in the summer, we've had our highest attendance this year. So it can be anything between 1,200 to 2,000 visitors a day at the lagoon.
All right. And in terms of, and you can clarify something for me, because I was under the impression that we stopped heating, because last time I was in Seaside Lagoon, which is many, many, many years ago, it was heated by the power plant. And my understanding was when the power plant shut down, or even beforehand, it was basically wasn't heated anymore. But then I looked online, and it's like, it looks like even our city website is still claiming it's heated by something. So is it heated?
It is not heated.
It's not heated, that's what I thought. So, so the current water temperature, I assume, pretty much just matches the surface ocean temperature?
Correct.
I'm assuming that will change somewhat when we go to a freshwater unheated system that's a closed loop. So do we know like what the typical water temperature would be during the summer and the winter? Would it be lower or higher? Or?
Let me direct that to Zhuang. Would you know what the
water temperature will be higher than the ocean water because the area is shallower and then the sun hit the water. So the water temperature generally about 5 to 10 degrees higher.
Okay, so if we say the current, let's say the best we get in the summer in the ocean is maybe 72 on the surface, you're looking like 77 degrees or so.
Yeah, that's depend on the time of day.
Okay.
And the evening time, the water temperature is higher.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out because I was concerned that, and maybe we need to update the city website right now if it's saying although I guess we've only got 2 more weeks left. But my main concern was if we were doing something where all of a sudden, the water is 5 degrees colder, that would impact visitation. I know one of the complaints that I hear from, some of the people in this room here is that what they're getting right now really isn't doing anything to help the local businesses. And they're looking for more attraction there. So that's one of the things I'm concerned with. I think most of my other questions have been answered from the previous comments. And I just go into my questions. We talk about for all ages, but in reality, I mean, when I walked by it the other day, it's basically, and of course, I know school had started, it was basically still families with kids. I would imagine that's the typical usage of the lagoon.
Typically, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I also agree with what everybody else pretty much has said. And Ryan, thank you for pointing out. I also respect that you sent all of the information and gave the timeline because it was a long way back to try and remember. And I realized the difficulties and the constraints because I read through it that you encountered. But I agree this isn't what we thought we were getting. I have some questions. Hopefully the first one's an easy one. I keep seeing the Seaside Lagoon property referred to as 4 acres, but then tonight I heard it was 3.6 acres. Is it 3.6 or is it 4? That's not really the same thing, and I'm curious.
I believe it's 3.6. I'm not sure where the 4.
Okay, and how much of that is or is water now? How many acres of water?
It's a little over because it varies, because there's not a tight edge.
Right.
But by Prop C, we're keeping it to just a tick over an acre. So we don't want, we're a little over an acre.
All right, thank you. Okay, and then I understand that of the $10 million grant, there's $7.9 million left. So we've spent $2.1 million. Was that all for the design work that's been done?
Primarily, yes.
Okay, so that money isn't being used to make up the fines that we're incurring for,
No.
Okay, all right, thank you. Question, Tom asked, if we were to change the design significantly from what from what we have here, that we would not necessarily get the exemptions that we're going to get or we expect to get now. If we were to change it significantly, would that be an amended permit application or would we have to start completely over?
I guess we completely over.
Change in the design would likely be in an amendment.
Okay. All right. And then I'm still not clear. I thought we had designed for the 2050 sea rise. Did we do that?
That was what we said we were doing.
Okay, but then when
So-
it went to them, we couldn't afford to do whatever it was that would need, so it didn't happen. Is that correct?
We'll verify that back in our notes from a few years ago, but our determination for our design team was to design for now, not for the 2050.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't have a ton to add because I think a bunch of questions have been asked. I have concern with what feels like the lack of detail and information. And what you just said is one of my biggest concerns that I noted at the start was this is designing for now, not for 2050. And I believe we have one chance to do this right with the speed at which things take place, the speed at which government works, the cost at which this incurs. So I don't think that we can design for now. I understand that we're getting fines and that is an issue, but I don't think you throw $10 million at a fine and hope it works out 5-10 years from now. And I keep hearing the Olympics being brought up. That's a one-time event here in our city. This is a permanent feature of our city, and I think we owe it to our city and our residents and our business owners and our users of the harbor to make sure what we put there is the highest and best use of that space with respecting the history at the same time. And I'm not seeing that in this design. And I am newest on the council, so I wasn't a part, on the commission rather, so I wasn't a part of all these previous conversations. But the frustration that I can hear and see and sense from my fellow commissioners, it's not unfounded, and it's concerning that this sets a precedence for doing all this work to then have a complete change of plan given to us in such short notice. Clearly, we have members of the community here tonight. That shows that it's not just this commission feeling stress about this. So I applaud you guys for all the work that you have done. I know it's hard. I know this isn't how you're wanting this whole evening to go so far, but we get one chance to make this the right feature and maintain something really unique in our city. And I feel like this is a temporary Band-Aid that we can't undo. We're not building something small that we can go back a few years from now and say, okay, let's take this apart because now we have a better idea. Like we have to do this one time. And I don't feel like this encompasses enough time and review based on the changes that have been made and the lack of visibility to them thus far. And that's all I got.
The Olympics aren't in Redondo, so why are we so concerned about that?
I think there was just a goal to try to activate that space for local events. We've been having meetings with the City Council Subcommittee on Olympics and Special Events, and there was a desire to maybe do something local like a Redondo Beach Olympics, and it'd be nice to have this amenity available.
I have one go back. One thing I just want to state before next phase of this is in the April 2026 Harbor Commission or City Council, I can't remember who in the council asked this, but asked about the operation and maintenance cost. Just asked for a ROM, just a rough order of magnitude, and Nuvis wasn't able to provide that. And so to our conversation earlier about, and I know it's a difficult thing to estimate, but to your point earlier about knowing the O&M cost, it just seems negligent to move forward with these loose details that aren't figured out and having no idea of what the O&M costs are going to be. So.
Anybody else have anything else to add? All right, I'd like to open it up for public comment. We'll start off with anybody on Zoom first.
We'll actually start off with an attendee in person, and then we'll alternate with Zoom. So,
Sorry, technical difficulties there with the microphone. First, we have Dina Larry. You wouldn't mind coming up to the podium?
And while she's walking up, let me just remind all of you have 3 minutes to speak. And the time is there, so please be mindful of it.
Okay, hi. My name is Dinah Larry. I've been in this community for over 60 years. I've seen the Seaside Lagoon before it was Seaside Lagoon. I think right now we have an opportunity to do something really special here. I don't think that having the renderings that I've seen are really going to do what we need to do. I think we should have a wave pool in there. We have a long history of surfing in this community, and we have dropped the ball on that many times. We are not the surf city anymore, although George Freeth was here in 1907. So, we really need to own it. We need to do something unique and different and fun, and that the whole community will be happy with, and it'll draw in a lot of new people. And if the water's cold, we do have wetsuits. We are known for wetsuits in this community, so I don't know what that's about, but I would like to see a wave pool in the mix here, and I know that that can be done quite easily. So, thank you.
now we have Mark Nelson through Zoom. Go ahead, Mark.
He's here.
Thanks. So I'm a taxpayer, and I really haven't been following this as well as probably some people. I've dipped in and out. Hearing it tonight, it sounds like there were a lot of modifications that undoubtedly staff thought were necessary along the way. I'm feeling like the options are getting pretty thin now. You can have staff take your input from tonight and ask them to come back with a plan that uses your input, that's inside of budget and timing, and see what you got. And then you can vote up or down on that. I mean, that seems like one reasonable option. Maybe there's just not enough money to get where you want to go. Another option would be to give up the grant money and start greenfield again, so to speak, or maybe you're slightly brownfield at this point. and see if you can get a 50 or $100 million extravaganza and figure out where to get that funded. And I think the third option is probably pretty ugly, but it's probably decommissioning, because at the rate this is going, I can't imagine why the state would allow you to continue to pollute and just pay fines. I spent many, many years in power plant construction, and that's not a scenario. We didn't just keep writing checks most of the time. We had to actually fix things. So I'm a little surprised to hear that continuing paying fines is even an option. So I'm looking at this and I'm just not seeing a lot of degrees of freedom here, because you've got a finite budget, you've got time constraints on spending it. There's somebody else who would want your money. I don't think there's any question about that. So I'd like to see, that kind of a decision made tonight as a taxpayer, so that we don't just keep churning, because that's feels like we've been spinning around with insufficient communication, maybe to the council and the commission, but clearly from what I'm hearing tonight, there was not nearly enough communication with you. So I think we need to look long and hard about how this is going to play out. Thank you very much.
And as a reminder, if you're on Zoom and you'd like to speak, please make sure your hand is raised. Thank you. Next, we'll have Jeff Jones.
Hello, Harbor Commission. Jeff Jones. Thank you for having me. I am the president and CEO of Quality Seafood and the president of the King Harbor Association. And I'm up here to just ask that you consider an alternate plan. As the president of the King Harbor Association, the members of the King Harbor Association, when we first met, their primary goal was to figure out how to drive visitors and revenue and people down to the King Harbor area, particularly in the off season. So from October through April is when it's really dormant down there. And we're looking for the city and everybody involved to take a tact of looking at what would bring people down year round. How can we bring more visitors, more locals in the community down throughout the year? And I think changing the lagoon, or keeping the lagoon in a more or less as is state, isn't going to drive any additional revenue or visitors or tourism. But I think that if we look bigger and go bigger and treat this as a decision that's a major generational decision, and look at something like potentially a wave pool, I think that we fill hotel rooms, restaurants, and local businesses, and the city earns a piece of every dollar spent down there. Every one of us that pays rent in the King Harbor area pays a portion of that dollar to the city as rent. So it's increasing the revenue, increasing the budget that the city has based off of the revenue that we're bringing in. And finally, just as a dad and as a surfer, I would like to see something cool down there, and I would love to see that the community embraces something like a wave pool or something different in the lagoon, because I think the Parks and Rec Department has an opportunity to use it. I think that the local high schools have an opportunity to use it. There's surf teams in every local high school. I think that there's a lot of uses for that space that would actually bond the community and bring people down there. And bringing people down there is what's important. We showed that with the water polo that we brought down there, changing up the boat parade and making it more fun and more involved for the community down there. And ultimately, getting people down to the harbor was part of the waterfront amenity project. And I was part of the waterfront amenity project working group. And what I'm seeing here really doesn't respect the vision of what we put together then. So I vote that we, my opinion is that we look at it, take a different approach. Thank you.
We currently don't have any hands raised in Zoom, so next up we have Chris Brown.
Hi, commissioners. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I appreciate all of your thoughtful input and the questions that you guys were asking. I think a lot of the questions that you guys gave voice to here tonight were the same kind of issues that we are seeing and feeling. So we brought forth this plan recently. A lot of people are talking about it here tonight, of having a wave pool. Just a high level view of that. And the reason why we think that's such a good idea is that people are willing to pay to surf the wave, but you can then take a portion of that money and keep the water feature open year round. So there was a lot of talk here about that tonight as well. That's never been able to happen before because it's so expensive to do. We believe we've found a way to do that. We also could partner with nonprofits who bring at-risk youth down and give them the gift of surfing, teach them surfing. Again, something of course you couldn't do if it's just a flat water lagoon. And then most importantly, to piggyback on what Jeff was just saying, for a generation, people have always been asking, like, what can we do to help out down in the harbor? And it's like light bulb moment, generational chance. We could build this wave pool and the rising tide will lift everything. And I firmly believe you walk down there and look around and just think about how that would affect every hotel, every restaurant, every mom and pop retail shop down there. So we believe it's very exciting. And again, I sympathize with city staff. I know they've been putting a lot of hard work into this. I know it's much easier to criticize than when you're the one who has to roll up your sleeves and get the work done. So that's not lost on us. But again, I think the more important thing here is that we get it right. We're only going to get one chance to do this. It's probably going to last for a generation or more. So let's make sure we get this right. Thank you.
Now we have Christy Miller through Zoom. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so good evening, commissioners. I did want to speak to the public access and just what the community benefit is to the Seaside Lagoon. I know that there are business interests in the area and have voiced concerns or the opportunity they see in making money, but I don't really believe that should be laid at the feet of the Seaside Lagoon due to the fact that this is a community thing that we bring our families to enjoy together, and it's not about profits, it's about community. I think that there are other ways for the businesses in the harbor area to be uplifted and revitalized without it actually encroaching upon this public access and just the community benefit that the lagoon actually provides us here. So my kids went to camp there. They had a marvelous time. They learned to swim in there. And so I really would caution the commission before considering privatizing this beautiful asset that we have. And I know the plans that discussed, they do need some work, but I just really think you need to reconsider about whether we let businesses in privatizing the lagoon over the community's use. Anyways, thank you for your time. That's really all I have to say.
Next we have Allison Hales.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alison Hales. I'm the president and founder of a nonprofit in the South Bay called Culture Club South Bay, and we bring kids of all ethnicities together in the South Bay to learn beach activities like surfing, like volleyball. And these kids, really, it's their very first time at the ocean. For the most part, 70% of our kids can't swim, and they've never even touched the sand, let alone been in the ocean. So hearing this tonight, and I am very new here in learning what you have in store for the Seaside Lagoon, I'm very much opposed to keeping it as it is without having a lap pool or without updating it to the level in which you have obviously spoke about previously. And it's not, unfortunately, there. And so the idea of having a wave pool like it's been suggested, is something that's really exciting for us because the kids get to learn in a safe protected environment. So it's not just about privatization. It's about the community having something that the community can be proud of and that can be utilized with so many kids that would need this experience. So thank you.
Next, we have Laura Kastner through Zoom. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, Commission. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to thank you so much for doing all this work. First of all, I know it's a lot of work and it's a lot of your time from your family and everything, and I just want to thank you for that. And I'm really excited about the revitalization and renovation you're talking about. But I also want to address some of the comments that have come up around the wave pool with some facts and figures that I pulled from the Palm Springs wave pool, which is, I know that you guys mentioned that the acreage is not 4 acres, but it's 3.6. If we have a wave pool in that area, that's going to take up about 2 acres. And that 2 acres, the max capacity for a wave pool in one day is if it's open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. is 168 people. That's it. 168 people can enjoy 2 acres of the Seaside Lagoon with 1.6 acres left over for everyone else for $10 an hour versus a wave pool that would cost about $100 an hour. So I just want to put that out there that it would diminish the affordability and the capacity. It would not be 2,000 people a day going through 1.6 acres. I mean, let's be real. So while a wave pool sounds great, it sounds like privatizing a public asset. And if they want to expand into the parking lot, I'd be more supportive of it. But right now, I think it would just diminish capacity, diminish attendance, and make it unaffordable for our local kids and just people in general. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, we have Jim Lindberg. Okay, I'll come back to him. Tom Horton.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff. Tom Horton, I'm a co-founder and president of the South Bay Board Riders Club. Live in Hermosa Beach, but have connections to Redondo. My dad was a 1942 graduate of Redondo Union High School. Horton Catering was located in Redondo Beach House Club in the 70s. And we catered the 50-year anniversary of Redondo Beach Union High School at Seaside Lagoon, as a matter of fact, back in the 70s. I'm here to support the wave pool. Obviously, surfers in the community would love to have this available to them. Not only kids, adults, but parents of kids who have a difficult time teaching their kids how to surf in the South Bay. We have some pretty challenging surf conditions out here, and we don't have waves every day. This would meet some of the criteria that you all have listed there in terms of it being multi-generational, being year-round, and benefiting the community as well as businesses. I think it meets all of those things. The technology has changed so much just in the last few years. So the wave pools now, they can make beginner waves, they can make intermediate waves, advanced waves, pro level waves. They can accommodate all different skill levels. So everyone gets to enjoy it. Boogie boards, it doesn't have to be a surfboard. I just did my first one back in Virginia Beach, as a matter of fact, and it was amazing what they can accomplish. And it has sand, and it will definitely meet the need of trying to introduce the ocean experience for kids and people trying to learn and experience the ocean. And it's safe. You won't have to worry about the short pound, picking off some kids and adults that are trying to get out in the water there too. So I'm in full favor of it. Our surf club is in full favor of it. Surfers in the community, as well as outside the community, or people who are new to surfing, will love to have something like this. Thank you very much.
Another Reminder for Zoom attendees, if you'd like to speak, please have your hand raised. Moving forward, we'll have Mara Santos.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mara Santos, and I'm the CEO for the Redondo Beach Chamber of Commerce. And I came here tonight to share some of the concerns from our business community who feel that they didn't have enough input in what's going on in the lagoon. And what they shared with me was that during the community pop-ups and the community meetings, not all businesses had the opportunity to share their input and vision regarding the lagoon project. We wanted to ask that you recommend to City Council the decision on this project be delayed to allow the broader harbor business community additional time to participate, share their concerns, and provide meaningful input. And personally, as I said here tonight, and I hear all of the amazing work that all of you are doing and the questions that are being asked, I believe that this project needs to be delayed and maybe really go back to the drawing board and really rethink what we're having in there. As Commissioner Warwick mentioned, it's not something that's going to be slapped there and we're going to have it for the next 3 to 5 years and come down again and figure out where we're going to get the money, how are we going to get the money, is it really going to be something that's going to be viable, that we're really going to have it here, as some of the questions were really not asked. I asked you guys to really reconsider what is going to go in our harbor that our community is really going to appreciate and our business owners are really going to enjoy really having in here. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Alan Sanford.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Alan Sanford. I am guilty for putting out in the world an alternative idea and a dream. And I say dream because I love dreaming. I have an 8-year-old daughter that I read to nightly. And every night I teach her, dream big. And I want to apologize for potentially being an obstacle. I want to apologize if I've put extra work on staff. It's not for that I spoke up. I also want to say that I have been part of the process. I met Perry for the first beach life that we walked through. I've been to all the amenity meetings. I was on the Seaside Lagoon Committee until I wasn't. So I'm not speaking from a place of coming late to the game. I'm not even speaking about the wave, okay? I'm speaking because I'm not inspired by what's going on. I'm probably down at the lagoon more than almost anybody, except for Michelle. I'm there every single day. I have an office in Sonesta. I look at it every single day. I take pictures of it every single day. I'm not speaking of it as I go down there weekly or monthly or annually. I'm literally there every day. When I read through the staff report tonight, a sentence popped out at me. The summary is that the proposed improvements modernize the existing infrastructure without expanding its recreational use or increasing visitor capacity. It also wouldn't increase parking demand. Let's let that sink in. We have a harbor that is not economically sound. I can attest to that. If you don't believe it, I invite you down to meet with Jeff, myself, or any of the 18 other business owners right after next weekend when we drop off, okay? All I'm asking is that you guys do your part as part of community and help us dream. We're gonna leave this to our kids, as Chris said. I'm already 50 and surf less. It's really not about the wave. Let's have the uncomfortable conversation around economics. Some of you guys brought up operations. There's a reason nobody enjoys the sunset inside the lagoon and it closes at 5 o'clock. I'm gonna guess that's operations. So tonight's not about the wave for me. There is a better way to do this. I know there's a better way to do this. I've researched topographically, geographically, and I hope that you guys dream bigger. Thank you.
Next, we have Mark Cole.
Hey, good evening, commissioners. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your hard work, and city staff as well. I'm just here to speak on the subject. I didn't really write any notes. I have a ton to say. I'm super passionate for this city and what's being discussed. I actually just bought a house in Redondo. Born and raised here, lived here my whole life, but about 2 months ago bought a house. So like I'm here for the long haul, and I'm super passionate, and it's it's hard to buy a house here. So I really want to see what happens down at the lagoon be the best version of what we can be as the people of Redondo and our city. And what's been down there more or less my whole life, certainly my entire adult life, I don't think has lived up to that billing. And you've got a group of really inspiring people here tonight who have put together a plan. It's maybe a rough plan, but we know we can do better than what's being proposed, and we can build something down there that the people of Redondo and the people of the South Bay want to use. There's so many ways to do it. I mean, it's the future is ours to dictate realistically. The public-private partnerships, you've got investors that are passionate, that want to make a difference down there. It could be the best of anything. And I mean, if there's a wave pool down there, yeah, I've surfed, I'm an ocean lifeguard, done the Catalina Classic 8 times, pretty committed to the ocean lifestyle, paddled Lanaquila when I was a kid. So yeah, I spent some time down there. And if someone wants to build a wave pool, I think that'd be an amazing use of our resources for the public. There's so many ways to structure it where there's a certain amount of time every day where it's available for swimming and wading, and then other times of the day, you can surf in it. There is, to address the person that said there's 2,000 people a day using it, there's pretty much nobody using it 8 months of the year. So I think that would change right off the bat if you invest and build something people want to see down there. Thanks so much for your time, and I really encourage you guys to delay this decision, and let's do something generationally sound that's going to just be spectacular and something that we're all proud of as the people of Redondo. Thank you.
We have one more speaker card left, so last reminder for Zoom attendees to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. We have Jim Lindberg. Did he come back? No? Okay. All right, then no more hands raised in Zoom at the moment. We do have 7 e-comments, all in support of moving forward with the proposed entitlement package. And then
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time? You said you had 78 e-comments all in favor.
Seven
I thought you said
e-comments.
78.
All in support of moving forward with the proposed entitlement package and plans.
Good evening. I want to say council, but you're obviously a commission like me. I'm Wayne Craig, resident of District 1. This area is very near and dear to me. You may recall about 10 years ago, we had this huge movement called Rescue Our Waterfront, because if we hadn't done what we did, you wouldn't be talking about a Harvard or Seaside Lagoon today. It would have been half paved over with a mall, which would have been probably one of the worst financial disasters in the city. And that's the reason why I got involved in it. They came to my office, I'm a realtor. I didn't see how that thing was going to be financially supportable unless half the shoppers were dolphins because they can come in from the ocean. So I'm glad that we're taking some time and looking at this. And when I say it's near and dear, we spent a lot of time. Over 9,000 people came and helped out get signatures put on the ballot. So people really are interested in Seaside Lagoon. And you probably see on online comments, there's probably a bunch of people as well. So it's important we do it right. And we respect what the people have out there. And again, when I said it's near and dear, not only did we do all that, the developer sued Mayor Brand, myself, and Councilmember Niels Narenheim. It cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket. So we care about this. It seems like, though, after hearing all the conversations here, that, I remember going to council meetings. I know that they started with all this big wish list and it's been kind of narrowed down. It sounds like there's some communication that wasn't brought to you guys, because tonight I'm hearing, well, what about this? Why wasn't this added? Why was this taken out? I think you need to look back at the council, because it sounds like they scaled this back. And maybe better communication should have been done to you, because it sounds like some of this stuff was done and you haven't had meetings to be updated on it. And I think that's really unfortunate. So communication is obviously really key here. And again, we definitely want to see something happen there. We put a lot of time and effort in it, and I'd really like to see something happen with Seaside Lagoon to where it's going to be, you know, the jewel that it should have been. This is what we used to say to the Coast Commission. And the Coast Commission, when we met with them, were like, this is one of the best amenities around. The LA County Supervisor's Office even came and talked about it. So it's important. Anyway, keep on doing what you're doing, and I hope we can get something to work out. And I know Lee, you said you didn't get paid, but I do have money for you because I owe you like $35.
Just for the record, that's got nothing to do with this.
It doesn't mean I'm going to get your vote, right? Okay. Yeah. Any rate, thanks again, and I appreciate your hard work.
Good evening, Georgette Gantner, District 2. I don't see any reason why you guys can't continue with this project. Finish your research, get all the questions answered, and maybe you don't enlarge the lagoon, but you clean it up, make the improvements, you have the money, it's over and above budget money, which is great. Use it, finish, improve what you got. And then, you know, forget the lap pool and all that stuff. These are details that are, you know, superfluous in my opinion. And then because these people are enthused about the wave pool, maybe they now work on their proposal, which is going to take a while. They figure out how they're going to come up with the money. They figure out how they're going to maintain it. Because the pool, I got a pool. Yeah, it's like owning a boat. You're just, you know, you're spending to maintain and keep it pristine. And this is going to be a lot of work. But maybe it'll be completely successful. Maybe they'll make a lot of money. Maybe in the long run it'll be good. But I don't see any reason why you guys can't go forward and continue what you're doing. And then keep it maybe in the back of your mind, well, you leave room for a wave pool. I don't know if that's possible. Thanks for your work.
Good evening, commissioners, staff, Nuvis, Mark Hansen, proud member of the King Harbor Public Amenities Working Group. I want to start out by mentioning a couple things on the admin report. Referencing the December 23rd meeting, it says that we explored potential year-round amenities, including lap swimming and wave-oriented concepts. Certainly, we looked at the lap swimming, but we really just kind of brushed over the waves. I know I was there advocating that we look stronger, and we never did. Similarly, September 9th Harbor Commission meeting, the report says that we looked at the possibility and cost of a wave maker. Again, brushed over. I was there pushing to look closer. We didn't. April 21st City Council meeting, it says that the project is designed to improve year-round functionality capable of accommodating passive recreation. Absolutely true, the word passive, but obviously we're not doing anything to increase active water recreation. The report goes on to say we'll transform the lagoon into a year-round waterfront recreation destination. Again, not water, not year-round. So I'm concerned that the admin report might mislead the public a little bit, that they'll think that we looked much more into the wave concept than we really did, and the public might think that water recreation would be year-round. I sent you a formal statement, and I would simply like to read that into the video record this evening. The council approved King Harbor Public Amenities Plan acknowledges that, quote, the pool could also support coastal dependent activities, unquote. Additionally, quote, surf or wave pools are sought after by the public. However, space requirements may restrict this amenity's feasibility, unquote. We have now seen that new technologies make surf waves practical at our site. The lagoon is located on state tidelands, so the city has an obligation to prioritize coastal dependent uses. The King Harbor Association accurately notes that, quote, the Seaside Lagoon in its current form does not give children an opportunity to learn about the waves, surfing, and ocean swimming, unquote. The two different size waves proposed by the King Harbor Association would transition both adults and youth into enjoyment of the actual coast. The Coastal Commission will want us to still support low-cost recreational access. A great feature of the KHYC proposal is their inclusion of a beginner instructional wave. Access to the smaller wave could be provided with general admission to the lagoon. During the community pop-ups, attendees were less than enthused about discussions of sand areas, grass areas, building architecture, and rentable and configurable land spaces. They were much more enthused about potential active recreational opportunities their families could enjoy. Over the years, there has been a lot of discussion about increasing the use use of the lagoon from 3 months to year-round. However, the city's current proposal only focuses on expanding land use times. The beach cities do not have dependable year-round surf. Surfers in wetsuits would utilize this amenity year-round. Not surprising, local hotels have voiced very strong support for the surf wave concept. I'm going to take 10 seconds from you. I encourage the Harbor Commission to recommend to the City Council that, yeah, 10 seconds, please.
I can't.
Yeah, you can. It's
can't.
complete.
I
All you need is one motion. I just want to read my recommendation, which is one sentence.
Mark, we're not allowed to. We're no longer extending motions. I appreciate your.
You are allowed. All you need is a motion. All you need is a motion. You're wrong in saying we are not allowed.
I am not wrong, Mark.
Yeah, so at any rate, you got it, so read the final.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Annika Blair, and I'm a proud Redondo Beach citizen. I want to thank the Commission, city staff, members of our business, and our surf community for the passion in this room tonight. Everyone here shares the exact same goal: a vibrant harbor, a world-class place where we can all honor our coastal heritage and that serves our entire community. We're hearing innovative ideas, exciting ideas about a wave pool and what could become with new surf amenities. But good governance requires balancing future ideas with immediate fiscal reality, the law, and sound phased planning. Tonight, we have a clear path where our city wins. Secure the baseline first. Phase 1 delivers $10 million in secured California state grant funding. This builds non-negotiable municipal foundation for us, modernizing our failing filtration system, elevating our shoreline for sea rise, opening year-round green space 365 days a year, and will drive some daily traffic into the area as well. Protecting Measure C and youth access. Seaside Lagoon is our city's only protected low-cost ocean water sanctuary for young children, toddlers, working families, and municipal day camps. Keeping our public swimming basin open and affordable fulfills the fundamental voter mandate of Measure C. We have to protect that acre of water and access for the community. Avoiding CEQA and fiscal traps. Stalling this foundational work puts that $10 million at risk of statutory failure or forfeiture, triggers years of environmental and legal review as well. That would freeze our waterfront until well after 2028 and leave taxpayers footing the bill for the continued fines. A phased collaborative future. Approving phase 1 does not close the door on our business community at all. It secures the ground beneath our feet so that in phases 2 and 3, our city and local entrepreneurs can collaborate through open and transparent processes, procurement on world-class dining, concessions, and recreational amenities. I respectfully urge the Commission to recommend approval of phase 1 with specific conditions for City Council on September 15th, showing our city that we can lead together. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. Leslie Campeggi, District 2. It seems we have a dilemma. I was one of the people who participated in a lot of those meetings that were held online and the surveys that were conducted by SWA, and there was a lot of input and there were a lot of stakeholders within this community. I've heard talk tonight that business owners weren't there, didn't know about it. That's not the case. So many people did. There were 600 comments online when the amenities plan was discussed. But if we delay, we could force ourselves into a private partnership that might possibly not be in our best interest because we risk the funding that is available to us. So that's the dilemma. And I was particularly encouraged listening to the discussion by something that Commissioner Falk brought up. She asked the question, could there be an amended permit application? And I think that is very key in your decision making. I heard somebody say we brought forth a plan for a wave pool. Where? Where was that plan? Social media? The newspaper? I saw a diagram of one. The diagram that I saw reflected an area that extended beyond the Seaside Lagoon, one that isn't one that we could even use. I don't know, would that shrink down? It looked to me like it went into that Joe's Crab Shack area. And we're under an exclusive negotiating agreement for 18 months with another entity for that property. So that's off the table. So you could delay until MMCC comes up with a decision to build there, and then you wouldn't have the footprint available for a wave pool as presented, but maybe there'll be concepts of another plan brought forth. That's not what's on the agenda for you to consider. What's on the agenda is whether or not to vote to submit a coastal development permit application to the California Coastal Commission for the proposed Seaside Lagoon project. And I would submit to you that that might be the more prudent way to go, and then amend the permit application based on all of the other discussion that you've had that seems very, very pertinent to the process. Thank you so much.
There are no hands raised in Zoom.
Can I? So I'm not quite sure how to do this, but I was given a statement to read by someone who couldn't be here. One of his kids had a medical emergency. So
Do you have his name?
his name is Jake Mark. He is a resident of District 3. So I've got something I could read, something I could give as a motion to receive and file. It's just something to put in the record.
Yeah. We just have to receive and file.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Good enough.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Okay, and I can hand this in paper or send it electronically as well.
We got it. Thank you.
Also need a motion to receive and file the presentation.
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you all for your participation. Does anybody have any? We have to discuss, I guess, what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
On the permit topic, in one of the city council meetings discussing that, I don't remember if it was this April or the October one, but there was a statement that, I guess it must have been October 2024, the reason to go for all the entitlements of all phases at once is because if you just try to amend that expires, and I think it was 24 months, and at the pace that we're going, like, it would just expire, and so we'd have to start over. Do I have that right?
So that would be for the local entitlements, if there were like a design review or a conditional use permit. Probably at the time that the council was discussing that, it wasn't clear what was going to be required at the local level. And it, just became somewhat clear recently. The coastal development permit, I don't know off the top of my head how long those are valid for, but
okay.
I believe it is 2 to 3 years at least.
Okay, thanks.
Before we go into any discussion or motions, I have another question for staff, if I could, that came up in all this. Is saltwater in the Measure C, which we passed several years ago, puts a lot of requirements on the lagoon, requiring continued access, similar size of water, similar size of sand, basically whatever you put in there has to serve the similar purposes. Does Measure C say it has to be saltwater? Does anyone know? Okay, I'm seeing a no. Okay, I wasn't sure about that.
I don't believe it does.
My understanding is that it doesn't specifically say it has to be saltwater.
Okay.
It gives you the option of both.
Okay. Does it, I think it does say sand though.
It does say sand.
Okay, all right, thanks, okay.
I just have one additional question, if I can, for staff. A few meetings back, I believe it might have been, I don't remember who asked the question, but it was asked, will Harbor Commission be involved further in the Seaside Lagoon project and have feedback and input, and we were told no. And then the next meeting, we were told we had an emergency meeting of this one. So my question to you all is, where does Harbor Commission fit in to this process after this meeting, and then in through the next phases? Because I think I can speak for all of us to say we don't want to do this again on any future phases. And I think it'd be good for us to know where you see us fitting in.
You want me to address that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a good question. So you're going to form your recommendations to the city council tonight. They will consider those in September. Based on your recommendations, they're going to have various options. One would be to move forward with the project as is, or potentially with modifications, or to maybe bring it back and reconsider. There might be direction to refer it back to the Harbor Commission for continued discussion and consideration. So at this meeting, you're making that recommendation, and ultimately it's going to be up to the council. If the council does decide to move forward and submit it for a coastal development permit, that's really the end of the role for the Harbor Commission, because after that, coastal would process it, and assuming it gets approved, it would be, we'd move forward with the construction drawings, and that would go through the building division, and it'd be like a structural building code exercise. So really where it goes from here in terms of the Harbor Commission's involvement is determined by what the city council decides, and your recommendations should have some influence on that.
So before we start discussing, somebody in the audience actually pointed out the truth that we're here to discuss whether or not we're in support of the presentation before us. A lot of you are here to discuss a wave pool. That has to be an agendized item in a future meeting if we get to that point. I just don't want to wait to spend time talking about the feasibility of a wave pool or whether or not we're in favor of it or not. That isn't why we're here today. That is something that has to be put onto an agenda for a future meeting. That said, does anybody like to kick off where they feel they've landed after all that they've heard tonight regarding the proposal of phase one before us?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things. I hear from the community, the concerns about either not going forward or that what we're doing is not going to accomplish what we need to accomplish. You know, when I look at this, there are sort of two things. First of all is CEQA determination that does example. From what I hear, basically we're not increasing traffic. It's the same footprint. It's basically the same usage. It certainly looks to me like that CEQA exemption qualifies. Of course, that also raises up other concerns. If we're not doing any of that, why are we doing it? And then to advise whether or not we should submit the CDP. And I share my main concern as far as that goes, other than other directions, is that 2050 is only 24 years away. It's not that long. And if we're going to do something that's, in 10 or 15 years, because of rising sea level or because we didn't account for king tides, is all of a sudden needs major repairs, that's a problem. And so, I mean, I think that I can do two things. First of all, I'd like to make a motion, which I think will be simple, that the commission agrees that the design does meet the CEQA determination, that it is exempt.
Well, then that means that we don't move forward with what's in front of us.
That would be, there's two items we have to, they say, apply for CDP and agree that the CEQA's determinations is exempt. And if we agree that it's exempt, just to get that out of the way.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Is there a second? So restate it.
Okay, and maybe I should go back to the actual.
Well, I don't know why we need to do that, because they've already determined, the staff has already determined that.
Yeah.
Right? We're not being asked that, right?
Actually, I think we are being asked that.
It's right from the second point.
Yeah. Commission's role is review and provide input on the final Seaside Lagoon project design and CEQA determination.
secret. Nine.
Okay, so your motion is?
My motion is to agree that the project design meets the CEQA determination that it is exempt.
Yeah.
The design presented tonight.
Yeah,
In this
design presented tonight, yes.
I'll second it.
Before we go to vote, is that something that can be done?
It can. So it's part of the commission's advisory role on this application. When the council makes a decision at their next meeting, and if they decide to move forward, they'd be making the final decision on the CEQA determination. But the commission is advising the council on whether it agrees with that determination should be made.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you for that. Okay, did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, we need to determine whether we want to, recommendation we want to make on the project design itself.
Yeah, I think it's important to, I mean, if we don't move forward, we're risking a ton. And I think, but I think that it needs to change to Lee's point, that to build something wherein, you have a king tide and now you have a giant repair bill, they have to change the design somehow.
Sure.
Can I say a few things?
Of course.
Just kind of in summary, not getting to the motion part, but I just kind of wanted to make some statements. Like, I love our city and our harbor, and I believe in upholding Measure C protections. I believe in the importance of open space parks and the Coastal Commission's goals to preserve and expand public access to water-oriented recreational uses in that area. But the area discussed here tonight is to serve the region as an introduction to the ocean. We should therefore not accept less than what we have with the lagoon today. We should be wise with how we spend funds, how we might spend grant funds, working towards an amenity that does not result in fines. But importantly, not to think short term. Someone from the community mentioned the focus shouldn't be money making. But this is actually, it just caught my ear, because this is the only reason we're considering this particular design is because of money and lack of money. So we should not think short term. I recognize the hard work that Nuvis and the city and so many of us have done. It is a challenging problem on this topic, and it's taken more time than any of us planned. And then we all want to move faster. I've been on this commission for 6 years on the Amenities Plan Subcommittee, Lagoon Subcommittee. I've spent tons of hours on this project. Refreshed my memory on all our past meetings and rewatched meetings, reread notes, and, reabsorbed all the details. I'm disappointed, looked at the engineering drawings. I'm disappointed at the deviations in both the design and the city's transparency, as the details were supposed to come back. Month after month after month, the liaison meeting report shows it will come back to Harbor Commission in July of 2025, and the subcommittee in July of 2025, and then the Harbor Commission in August of 2025. This was repeated month after month. We got really busy with the boat ramp, and city never came back to us. That's very disappointing, as apparently so much changed from what this body and the Harbor and the City Council approved. And then, are you able to share that chart that we were given all this documentation pretty late. I'm an engineer, dig into details, and I was trying, there wasn't a good chart to show this, so I tried to put something together, and I think at least one thing has changed from the 90% document to the, I guess what you said, the 100% that you have now, Perry. But I look at, my son wanted to speak tonight, he's homesick. He's done the summer camp there, loves it, but the lagoon today is deep. It's scary deep. It's like the ocean. If you get, tossed off your paddleboard in the middle of the harbor, you don't want to freak out. You want to have some introduction to the ocean with that depth that we have today. of knowing what it feels like to have water over your head. And, you know, the design that we approved in 2024 was, you know, we weren't at the detailed drawing stage. We all recognized, you know, the having to deal with the water table. But getting to a 3.5, maybe 4 foot lagoon and then a 5 foot buoy slide area, that's just doesn't answer the mail. We were strictly keeping with the ocean feel, sandy bottom all the way, just like today, not, you know, a few feet in and then concrete. And again, you're gonna be standing on concrete at 3.5, 4 feet. Water features, I guess this was not apparent from the slides. I said that it looked like a smaller slide. Apparently we're envisioning this similar slide or same. We did in 24 have a splash pad at the entrance, a new fun feature that was missing. The difficulty with the presentation today of, you know, it does seem to be a concept that would just get us in the water the same 90 days a year that we have now. The building placement, this body and city council approved, you know, the building placement too, and this is just something completely different. And then the one at the top that I skipped over is really important, that seeking entitlements for all phases. This whole process was supposed to take a year, and it's been a year, 2.5 years now. And I do worry that, you know, it would just expire if we only go for phase 1, or more likely, there will never be a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And then the one that's not on here, because it wasn't apparent until tonight, of not being ready for sea level rise. Just planning for today is a problem. So it really is a once in a generation lifetime and opportunity, and I don't think we should settle for less just to get compliant against fees. I don't want to pay fees, but this is like, in the grand scheme of things, going deeper. The document says it would take like $1 million or $2 million more out of a, you know, $30, $40 million project. That's worth considering to get what the city wanted. We're fooling ourselves if we think the October 2024 plan, I think, to get from 18 months to 9 months is going to happen. I worry that the risk is even greater of moving forward and then having the whole area fenced off for the Olympics. And we're only moving fast because we want it to be ready for the Olympics. Doesn't make sense to me. I really do hate slowing down the process. That's not what I want to do, because I was super jazzed, you know, that we were going to move forward on something a couple of years ago. But I just can't support the changes that we're looking at tonight.
Anybody down here?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement as well, if I can. Thanks. So I've been on the commission 8 years. I term out next month, so I'm the longest serving member here. And in that 8 years, this will make next meeting shorter because I won't have to make a speech next meeting. In the 8 years I've been here, doing the amenities plan is one of the things I'm proudest of. Coming out of Center Cal, that we needed an overall plan for the harbor area, for the waterfront area. We needed something to throw darts at. Boy, mission accomplished. We are throwing darts at this tonight. During the amenities plan, that was in 21, 22. It was during the COVID years. There was one caller who said, you know, she researched surf parks. I did the same thing back then. The exact same thing she said, even worse is what I saw. A surf park just didn't seem to fit. Mark was pushing for it. I was pushing back. I'm one of the reasons it's not listed in there much. What I saw at the time was, you know, a big park that would take the whole lagoon and, you know, one person at a time using it. It just didn't seem like a good fit, even though back then, even during COVID, we thought we could, you know, bring in more money to the city and build on the $10 million we were getting. We heard really strong feedback that people wanted to keep an affordable park that introduced families to the ocean. We heard that overwhelmingly. We also heard overwhelmingly that we wanted some form of year-round use. I said I'm proud of the amenities plan. I'm not that proud of what we came up with in the lagoon, unfortunately. The best idea we came up with was just kind of like new buildings that would attract more rental usage and more special events, and a mobile fence that we could somehow move back and allow access to open space. And I say this as a guy, I got married in the Seaside Lagoon. We were one of the special events. We rented it for our wedding. And so, I could see how if you had nicer buildings, maybe you'd get a little bit more of that. But the guideline I kept saying to myself is, are we building something here that's going to get people down here on a cold Tuesday in February? And, maybe someday in one of the future plans, there's fire pits and more volleyballs, and, maybe Lanakila does something there, or, a six-man volleyball goes there. But, how do you activate it 365 days a year? The best plan we had just didn't do that. The best plan we had was just, a little nicer version of what we have now. What's changed since then is the budget's gotten even worse. The project's been broken into phases. Phase one is basically just the water quality, fixing the Band-Aid we've put on the loss of the power plant pumping system. Perhaps some infrastructure if we can get Quimby funds. When council came to us last October to ask our opinion on what to go forward with, they were really only looking for approval of phase one, and we kind of insisted, no, let's go for phases 2, 3, and 4, even though they're not funded yet. Better to do it now. And we just hear over and over in this plan, it's only phase one. That's all that funded. Even that is going to take some Quimby funds. And we just hear over and over in this plan, it's reduced scope. It's really disappointing to me to see, one of the great things I've learned on this commission is how the city budget works and where all the money goes. There's good presentations on the city website. You should look at them. You should see where your money's going. Anything you want. If you want, another crossing guard, it's really tough to find the money for that. The city budget is pretty much all allocated on day one before the budgeting process even starts. So anything extra you want, if it's a crossing guard or, fixing the shower by the hand launch, it's hard to find the money for that. And what really disappoints me is we haven't seen the city budget recover. I was hoping it would by now coming out of COVID, and it's getting worse. We're back in the days where we're talking about cutting staff here and there. We don't have a dedicated waterfront and economic development anymore. Our team is getting smaller again. It's really disappointing. Greg Kapovich was our last waterfront director, and I was talking to him when he was leaving. He went to Signal Hill, and he was like, oh man, there's a great thing in Signal Hill. They have a great budget. They have oil wells. So their budget's great because they have oil money. And I thought, wow, boy, we should have oil wells. That'd be great. Hermosa almost had oil wells. I wish we had some special, unique thing like an oil well that could make us money. And I thought about that for all of 2 minutes, and I'm like, you moron, we have the harbor. So, I appreciate that a lot of parks shouldn't make us money, but maybe the Seaside Lagoon has to. And I'd compare it with, it's not just money, it's also staff time, which turns into money. Compare it to Moonstone Park, which is another disappointment in my 8 years here. There's actually money funded sitting out there to fix Moonstone Park. We don't have the staff time to do it. So, even if we had, so Moonstone Park just sits there as, a dead patch of grass. So having a great amenity in Seaside Lagoon, but not worrying about the money makes me a little bit nervous. I'm worried that we're going to turn it into just more the same thing we have now. And pretty soon, today we're fighting fees for not adequately treating the water, which comes in with pollution already in it. And instead we're going to be fighting costs of, fighting with a liner that's floating up and fighting with a pool pump that's full of sand. What else has changed in the area is we've seen that investment in the area has worked. And this was not clear in the amenities plan days, back in the COVID days. Back in the COVID days, Cheesecake Factory could have packed up and gone away. It was that bad. But now we see that investment in the area does work. Cheesecake Factory's put in a new patio. The Cantina's built itself up. We've got the Surf Club now. When the Surf Club came to us several years ago, that was not an obvious slam dunk. That seemed like a hell of a gamble. The Bay Club gym has refurbished their facilities. Port Royal is going to put in a new building and new docks. during the amenities plan, even beach life seemed uncertain. So we've seen that investment in the area will now work. We know that now. And we also have city studies showing that there's increased foot traffic in the area and increased spending in the area. Every quarter, we get a leasing program presentation right here. In May, we had a great presentation right here, which says during special events like Kite Festival, Beach Life, car shows, a lot of people come to the area and spend money. That's not something we knew when we did the amenities plan a couple years ago, and we know it now from city studies coming to us from, people the city have hired. What's also changed is surf pool technology. It fits in the space now. It's something we should look at more. I've heard concerns about privatizing the area. We can't privatize the area. Measure C does not allow us to privatize the area or change access very much. Measure C says that area still has to be a low-cost amenity that accommodates similar amount of water, similar amount of sand, similar amount of recreation. So whatever plans come forward, I'm not going to go too far down this path, but whatever plans come forward have to meet those requirements and have to serve the same function as Seaside Lagoon today, maybe with a different budget. So I'm concerned that phase one basically only gets us exactly what we have now, just with less fines, but maybe different costs and greater maintenance at some point. I'm tired of low-cost amenities. I really like low-cost amenities down there. I want families to be able to come to the waterfront area and not be spending hundreds of dollars on a fancy meal or craft beer or whatever. I like that there's a free skate park to go in or look at. But I'm also really tired of low-cost amenities that are mediocre. I'm tired of going to the hand launch and seeing a broken shower. I'm tired of going and seeing, broken, dirty bathrooms. I'm tired of going and seeing things that, people don't really want to use. You're like, okay, that's not something residents want down there. I wish we had low-cost amenities that were well cared for, interesting, fun to use, that everyone wants to use and appreciates using. So at the end of the day, to me, it's problematic to approve this plan, and it's also kind of financially irresponsible not to hear more about the wave pool plan, which could dramatically bring in more funds. With all that, if anyone else wants to say something, I'm happy to yield the floor. And I've also been trying to draft a motion, so I'm also willing to throw out a motion or two if we're to that point of the meeting.
I guess I'll give you more time to finish drafting your motion there. As earlier I spoke and I said that it's either we recommend this that is different from what we wanted in a variety of ways, we meaning we collectively, or potentially punt it back with the risk of losing that money. But as we were sitting here and talking and listening to everybody else speak, I don't want to, it's not just going to cost us the 10 million. There's going to be other money. I don't want to throw good money after bad solely to get the 10 million. The $10 million is very, very important. But if it's spent, I think, contrary to what I believe even the people that are pushing for it, and maybe I'm misquoting a lot of them, but I feel like it's an improvement on something. I'm not so sure that it is. I think that, like I said before, it's no different than just a regular pool, other than the fact that there's a little bit of sand in it, which is less sand than we originally had hoped. I don't know what that sand does. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Beach Life Festival. I go all the time, and to have that sand won't be there for the one half of the concert. Is that correct? That sand will now be gone. Is that correct? One of the stages is on the sand, and will that sand still all be there?
Yeah, primarily. The lagoon is moving a little bit north, but the rest of the sand is remaining.
Okay, well, that's good. So, I don't know, I mean, I'd love to get more money down in the area. I mean, my kids go to daycare down there. I'm down there all the time. And I'd love to see more money, but I don't want to improve today at the overwhelming expense of tomorrow. So that's my take. Sorry, the overwhelming potential expense.
Somebody mentioned that you could ask for an extension on that grant. So that is also an option. I mean, we're not necessarily losing the money.
Sure. I'm saying in the worst case scenario, Dave mentioned that it's not a guarantee, but we can certainly
ask.
So it's a potential risk of losing money to hopefully, although I'm not so sure, these are all things that we've told them in the past already that we want done. And here we are now, and with what's in front of us, I'm not sure if we say to them, hey, no, come back with what we asked you for, and they're gonna be like, oh, okay, well now we can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's no like magic wand that all of a sudden, okay, fine, now we'll give them what they want because they asked twice.
Right.
I don't know that that's the case.
No, this is sort of a no-win.
Yeah, it's a
scenario. Yeah, so exactly. No, it's really.
Oh, you gotta be optimistic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So choice could be a good thing. Two good choices.
No, yeah.
Okay.
But it's true because we're not guaranteeing we're going to lose the money. We're going to ask for an extension, and it could go because there is a risk that if we approve this, we just end up creating a little nightmare down the road.
Yeah, if we're getting $10 million, but we have to spend arbitrary number of $1 million every so often to fix the problems because we're not 2050 compliant. Well, how many? It's a diminishing return.
You cost that.
Yeah.
Is the grant for the water feature only?
So the grant is actually through the Department of Parks and Recreation. It is specifically tied to Seaside Lagoon, but as part of a discretional spending is my understanding of how it was awarded. So
like the bathroom and the promenade.
The 3.6 acres.
So it's inclusive in the scope of our project. The grant, when we received it, had a project scope and description.
Yeah.
And then based on the plan that we submitted as part of that, it falls under it. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's flexibility then. Like, I forget what the current expiration, I think you said May or something.
June 30th of 2028.
Oh, 2028.
2028.
Oh.
Yeah, we got it.
So that means we basically have to finish the project by then.
Correct. That's the closeout.
Finish?
That's the closeout of the term of the
Not just
grant.
like milestone payments to,
Correct. That's grant completion where the contract is termed out.
Grant completion.
grant completion and work completion.
You know, I would have to look through the amendment, the information in the contract, but typically dealing with other grants, usually they require that you've completed the work by then in order to receive the reimbursement. And you have to have submitted all reimbursements before the grant closeout date.
I mean, I think we're already at risk of that. Like, not,
if we get the
then the 10 million's already at risk.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
If we get the extension that you were mentioning, would that toll the date? Or is the date's June 30th of 2028, regardless of if we get an extension or not?
The date can be extended by a year to 3 years after that, when we
Is that
ask.
Their discretion?
Mhm.
Can you bring up the chart that showed the fines that we're getting?
Yeah.
It's like 600,000 and 3 something.
Can I say something too real fast? I think that the steps that we're at right now are getting a little bit ahead as well. I think what city needs from us tonight is whether or not we recommend they go to this next stage of issuing the CDP for the project as it stands. And I think we have a collective answer on that from what I'm hearing from our conversations. What happens after that is different. I don't know that this motion that they're looking for, one way or the other, involves what those next steps are. Are we making a recommendation for them to go after the CDP with the existing plan? And I think all of this is 12 steps later, so to speak. You know,
I agree with you in part, but also don't know if city council will listen to this meeting, but hopefully they do. And, you know, I think we both learn from each other, like we might think of something that, or mention something that feeds something that they consider later.
Sure,
So
fair enough.
Okay, well,
So if I can, I'd actually like to say more than just yes or no to them. So let me give this motion a shot. We don't support this design. We continue to support the design we approved in 2024 with greater water depth, sand bottom, and salt water. Design should accommodate state guidelines for 2050 sea level. No, this was something I'd like to add. Design should accommodate state guidelines for 2050 sea level rise. If the council does pursue a shallow water option built to current high tide levels with no dewatering option, we should know what duration of sea level rise causes harm to the pool. Is the lagoon harmed by one high tide, by a multi-day storm, or an El Nino winter? We should understand what the costs of the repair are for that and compare those costs to a deeper water pool with a dewatering option. And I'll say in this aside, we see in this document that the dewatering option was something like $1.5 million or $1.2 million or something. And I can imagine if you're repairing cracks in concrete and replacing liners and moving a lot of sand around, you spend that $1.5 million pretty quickly. So you spend that $1.5 million now, you get a deeper water pool, which maybe we're all a little happier with, even if it is still, you know, a mix of cement and sand. So instead of just saying no, I'd like to say, if you do go ahead and ignore us, please consider these factors. So that's the intent of my long-winded motion.
Is salt water even possible, though, given what you know?
that's what we already approved.
Yes.
It is, okay.
It costs more, and the primary cost was at the end of the year when we drain the pool, you got to do something with all that salt water.
Right.
We don't want to throw it in the ocean.
Right.
And if you can't just run it down a storm drain without some fines, I don't know. Does anyone have a smarter comment than I have at this point?
We looked at that, and I don't know if it's wrong if you have those numbers off the top of your head, but it would increase the size of the pump room, and it does increase the cost of maintenance. So it's possible.
It's possible.
But it would increase cost.
so it increases the cost of maintenance, and it is a more expensive thing to run, but it decreases the cost of the 2050 problems because we can go deeper.
No.
Well, that's an important question. Do you need to separate yourself from the ocean if you're running essentially ocean water in there?
No, it wouldn't be ocean water.
It's salty.
It's salty water, but it's still, you can't put that back in the
Well,
ocean.
no, you can't.
Right.
But would you care about intrusion from the ocean at that point?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. Health, safety wouldn't let you mix the ocean water with the. We're locked into a hard shell. Because
it changes everything if we're not, right? If you could
of
get
course.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because that's what we're doing now today, and everything's much nicer.
Right.
We have a sandy bottom. And so what? A little bit of ocean water gets into our system.
That's the table of fines, because a little bit of our system gets back in the ocean water.
No, I'm talking about the other way around. So high tide, you get some ocean water into our system, not the other way around. You'd want to prevent our water going into the ocean.
It's a different design than what we.
It would be definitely a different design.
Yeah, you couldn't hold the freeboard, or you couldn't hold the edge, it would just vary, because you'd always be pumping water in to keeping it, because it's going to go down, and then tides are going to bring it up. We also included ADA access into a part of the lagoon now. We have a ramp going in with handrails, so disadvantaged can get into a shallow portion of it where you can't do that now. There's a lot of additional bonus pieces that we've tried to take into consideration.
I'm sorry, so you're saying, as we sit here today, there is not a way to do deeper with salt water, with ocean water? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Deeper with, you can't mix them, so.
Modified.
Not with the
The salt water, whatever it is.
Well, he's saying you have to have a barrier. You still have to have the concrete in the barrier, even if you're going to go saltwater. But you could do saltwater, it would just be.
We could do salt water, it wouldn't be ocean water, it'd be a different.
Right, it would be different than the ocean, it would be saltwater. Right.
And sorry, I have one final statement of the motion. Council should ask for an extension to the state grant regardless of plan chosen.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was in your, I didn't hear you say that you have a motion to do something.
So my motion is to send this statement to council. Council is asking us review and provide input. And my statement back to council would be, we don't support this design. We do support the design that we approved in '24, last time we saw it. And that design is deeper water, salt water, sand. If you are going to go forward with the proposed design, the current proposed design, please consider the cost of sea level rise. And please also ask for an extension on state grant money. Because that deadline makes me nervous regardless of plan.
I guess I would want to add the permitting for all phases in the entitlements. And just reiterating, we're supposed to be activating 365-day.
Right, which is where the wave pool.
Inspiring use, multi-generational use.
So you really,
That's not less than what we have today.
yeah.
I guess you said that part. I don't know.
Less than today is.
Less than today is not acceptable.
But that is an arbitrary way of saying it. Like,
He already captured it. He already captured it.
But we do need a separate driver to get to that 365 days, something like a wave pool, something that does bring people in and the out. Yeah. It does sound like the technology is getting there, and we'd be missing an opportunity in phase 2, or pick your phases, to be that we should be looking at something to enable, to draw people in during.
If we were to do the closed loop system, what would happen to the existing open loop? What would happen to that sort of, all that machine, those machines and everything? All
The piping and the pump system, we would close them down and cap them off.
And would that be something that could at some point be undone? If in the future, I guess my question is, if we were to say, okay, great, let's do this freshwater pool situation, great. And then as we're going through this, I don't know, ABC Pool Company comes out, or ABC Ocean Company comes out with some like new technology, and they can now do this with no problem. Can we then like pop the tops off of these things, get them back working again, and maybe put in some new lines and be done with it? Like that, is that a possible situation? Am I creating like this, like fantasy land? I'm trying to find to see if there's a way we can.
Remember that the current system's going through the old power plant, so.
Well, no, it's not right now, though.
No, I'm not actually.
I mean, there's pipes. There's pipes.
There's pipes there.
Those pipes are either going to be removed or they're still going to stay there. Just nothing's going to be in those pipes.
Yeah.
Come on up, my friend.
The existing system, actually only very small pump for the water feature.
Yes.
So most water is from the power plant feeding in the lagoon, and then I don't know how many days right now the water in the lagoon, and then you drain off. Add chlorine and dechlorine, drain off, and pay the fine. So the current pipelines, they are old. It cannot be used. You use it, you have a risk leaking, and you need to spend more money to maintain it. It's better to have new pipeline and facility. Right now, you don't have much there. That's what it is.
All right. Okay.
But I like the thinking out of the box.
He just slammed that box.
She just left, but Culture Club, we volunteered with them, and it was interesting. I hadn't thought about, my comments tonight were, ever since I knew of the April 21, 2026 meeting from City Council, not anything to do with the wave idea, but to hear someone who's serving disadvantaged kids be excited for something other than this was interesting to me. It makes sense, but.
So, we have a motion on the floor, so is there a second to the motion?
I'll
second. Okay.
I think, thinking that maybe something needs to get changed.
I don't know.
Want to read it back one more time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've tried to keep this to a simple couple of statements. We don't support this design. We continue to support the design we approved in 2024 with greater water depth, sand bottom, salt water, and amenities which support 365-day activation. We continue to support permitting and pursuing all phases of the plan. Design should accommodate state guidelines for 2050 sea level rise. If the council does pursue a shallow water option built to current high tide levels with no dewatering, we should know what duration of sea level rise causes harm to the pool. Is the lagoon harmed by one high tide, multi-day storm, and El Nino winter? We should know what the costs of repair are and compare those costs to a deeper water pool with a dewatering option. And finally, council should ask for an extension on the state grant regardless of plan chosen.
Okay, and that was the second.
I was going to have a friendly amendment to that. I think you said a deeper. I just wonder if we could say like as deep as current.
Okay.
Any objection?
I'd like to propose another amendment to that. I'd like to see the city reopen discussions simultaneously at the same time, be open to reviewing additional ideas and input from the community.
Let's do that next. Let's
do.
Make it separate.
I agree with you, and I want to have that discussion, but I want to have
Separate it
one
out.
motion on the question before us and separate it out, and then have a second motion on what you're saying.
Got it.
Just to simplify it, just in case there's.
Yeah. No problem.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. I will say this.
And I can email you this text unless you have it.
I've got it, but
Yeah,
email
no,
me
I'm gonna have
just
to
in
bring
case.
the pad. Worries me.
And then the next. Promotion.
So, yes,
Okay, let's see if I can. I'd like to make a motion requesting council to reopen discussion and accept submissions of ideas from the greater community for alternative design or enhancement of the project during this extension request and review request.
I would almost like to make it more specific to we're not getting to the activation of the 365
I
days.
was just thinking that ideas that activate substantially over current or something.
Right, because that's the hole we're missing right now.
sure.
Even
The
if we,
question is, we want to send that to the city council to have them get it, or that's taking it away from the Harbor Commission.
oh,
Well, it's advising them that
but
that's the next step we would
It's kind of already been taken away from
have.
us.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
We don't have it.
We should invite it. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think that this is something that would likely get put back to us. And it goes to the whole agendizing the wave pool discussion.
It's, I guess fundamentally.
That's what we were talking about here. We're talking
Yeah,
about that
well,
without talking
we
about
are.
it.
Right. Well,
So we shouldn't be talking about it.
Well, yeah.
well, no, I think it's
more broad. I mean,
Yeah, it's important because it's an economic thing, right? Yeah, so we need to figure out a way to bring people here during the off season. Right? I mean, it's a giant hole we're missing.
Agreed.
Okay.
But I think that the motion puts it on the city council to do that, not on us.
I think so, but like.
May I provide some guidance?
As is, like.
Sorry, yes.
May I provide some guidance? Because we have to be careful here when we do community outreach and want to receive input, that's staff time and work. And we have to be mindful of the fact that the council and the city manager dictate that. So it's not a bad idea to refer that to the city council, and then they have the authority to direct that workload to staff, because that takes time and intention. So I understand the interest to bring it back to the Harbor Commission. It will come back to you. But the direction must come. Otherwise, if you agendize it, it's you doing the work. We can't do that work for you. So just a note.
Okay, thank you.
But given that we have a lot of community enthusiasm over a wave pool, maybe be more specific about it, because we haven't heard a lot of other, ideas where people are coalescing around this, and there's a lot of enthusiasm. I think,
I agree, but let me be clear. You're not here to talk about a wave pool.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah, it's not on the agenda.
I think we should just say that we would like further input and creative ideas to activate the 365 days.
Yeah.
That we would be willing to entertain that, or however we say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the real fear is they just move forward with one phase and then we have no additional activation.
Right, and then we're missing out on a whole bunch of economic.
Well, my fear is that there's been so much time since this was originally discussed to now that there's potentially a lot of great ideas out there that we haven't heard. And there comes a point where you have to move forward, but I think it's clear today that there's a lot of ideas floating around out there, wave pool, no wave pool, fire pit, whatever it may be, it's not specific to the wave pool, which is why I don't think we need to be specific with it. I just think it has been years and it has changed and it's a lot of money and it's a very passionate topic for the community. So I think encouraging city council to go back and staff to go back and just do another round of community feedback and ideas is
Actually,
prudent.
so can I take a shot at this too?
Please do.
At the last meeting, we had a couple items for discussion that we couldn't discuss because they weren't agendized, so we agendized them for next meeting. We wanted to do, I think it was on the water concerts and cameras and where fishing is allowed or should be allowed.
Yeah.
So at the end of the last meeting, we made a motion saying, please agendize that next meeting. So what we could do here is say, please agendize at the next Harbor Commission meeting, a presentation from Alan giving us the details of a wave pool design, show us that it meets Measure C. If he shows up with something that doesn't meet requirements, it's dead. We can't go any further with that design. So that's a chance to see more of the design without spending any staff time, without spending any council's time, and hear more about it.
You're jumping ahead to section N.
Well, perhaps I am, but it's a way to see if this is possible or not, is worth pursuing further. I mean, no offense, Alan, but if this doesn't meet the law in Measure C, let's not spend one more minute of your time on it.
Right.
What is the time frame, because I don't have my calendar in front of me, between our next meeting and City Council's next potential action on this?
One day.
After us.
We meet on the 14th and they're on the 15th.
Okay.
Or something like that.
That is correct.
I feel like a day.
Not that I'm counting the days.
Like a day.
Your last meeting.
Okay.
Then I will withdraw that last half-crafted motion.
And if you want to do with that, I think we should do it in section N when that comes up for future agenda items.
You don't think it's worth giving the feedback to the council?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah, okay, yes.
And also never handle stuff like this again, like, you know.
If council doesn't watch this far into this meeting, shame on them. It's our little
Well,
secret.
then I think the motion has to change then to not ask council to open themselves up to more ideas and feedback, but instead to ask council to allow us to provide feedback from our next meeting regarding an alternate plan and design prior to making any final decision. Right? We're not asking city to do the work. We're not asking them to go out. We're asking for our commission to have an opportunity.
That would be in anticipation of agendizing the topic for the next meeting.
Could you just make it easier for me? No.
Sorry?
I said, could you just make it easier?
I'm just saying, can we even add anything to the next? Because the agenda's already been.
We've already got 3 items in the next meeting, so we might want to consider a later meeting.
Then that pushes us back to.
Well, that's only if they accepted and staffed it. I mean, I don't think we know if they've staffed for next meeting, right?
What do you mean? Stopped it.
I think the process normally is when we ask to agendize, I remember Greg would be like, okay, we'll see what meeting we can get it onto.
So I guess
It's not necessarily next one, right? I know that's what we wanted.
If you had requested that items be agendized and it's not part of our regular work plan, we can facilitate the conversation. We just can't put work into it. So it can be on the agenda, but the report might just be teeny tiny.
Yeah.
It would be the Harbor Commission talking about it and deciding to write a letter to the council or some other action that you are able to take within your purview. So I don't see an issue with adding another item if you have the bandwidth to have a conversation about it at the next meeting.
Speaking of which, when this was on the April 2026 council meeting, it was only like 6 pages of detail that they approved, which was surprising.
Do you want to do your motion?
I think we need a motion to it's like telling the city council, I mean, you could just say it plainly, like we have a fear that we won't get past this phase and there won't be activation year-round. Activation and increased usage of the area if they move forward. We want something, I'm not good at this. We want something inspiring and that inspires us to go there, inspires regionally to go there any time of year. And if by redoing the luau in phase 1, reduce scope phase 1, like it's just gonna be like the same as today, but maybe there'll be like volleyball nets. I don't know.
Okay, so we make a second statement to council that in the interest of pursuing more amenities, which provide for 365-day activation, we intend to agendize a presentation on the wave pool concept design.
I'm okay with that.
You will at the end. Could you repeat that? Just
I'm not sure if I
read
can.
that again. I lost something at the end and.
We feel the need to tell city council that there's something else coming, right? So instead of just, having them randomly learn that from the minutes, we should send them a statement. We're already sending them one statement that's the answer to their question. We're going to send them a second statement, and that second statement says, we wish to learn more about, I don't just want to say the wave pool design, we wish to learn more about amenities which could activate Seaside Lagoon 365 days a year. In the interest of that, we'd like a presentation on the wave pool design concept. It's not a shovel-ready plan. So we'd like a presentation on the wave pool design concept at an upcoming Harbor Commission meeting.
Why is the second part needed? What we could do is we could stop discussion on L1.
Yes.
Move to section N.
Okay.
Agendize something that we want to agendize. I don't know what, but maybe there's something out that we want to. And then come back if we, does that make sense? That's what we did that with Greg once. Greg had me move something around and.
We can't go back to an already discussed item.
Yes, that I get,
yeah.
that I get.
Mm-hmm.
But we can, oh yeah, it's an interesting.
Mm-hmm. If the,
That second part.
How do you need to go back?
I'm trying to do it here at this level to minimize council's time and staff time.
Big, huge cup of tea, and I'm going to be right.
Well, why not? Can't you just say that in the interest of that, we're going to arrange presentations at our next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Sure.
Yeah, I would leave,
That's it.
I would leave the detail out of it, just
Yeah.
in the interest of.
We want this information, and we're going to arrange for presentations at our next meeting.
Great.
But keeping the first part of what you
Yeah.
said.
So the two of you could just go combine those two things. That'd be
All right,
great.
what,
The why, keeping the why.
Can you make the full statement? Sorry.
no.
Okay.
do you want me to make the full statement?
Yes.
From what I've gathered?
Yes. Oh,
I
that'd
want
be
to make sure the
glorious.
why is there.
That the Harbor Commission wishes to learn about amenities that would activate the lagoon 365 days a year, and that the interest of obtaining that information, you will arrange for a presentation at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
I would like to say presentation or presentations.
Yes. Presentations.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it. I think that's it.
So moved.
Second. Yeah.
Wait for Tom.
Can someone claim ownership of that motion because it can't be mine?
He did. He said
Okay,
so.
claim it. Okay, great.
I'm happy to claim it. What are they going to do, fire me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you take it, you're out of here anyway.
Oh, I guess we can still vote here.
Yeah.
We'll see if we need his vote. All in favor?
Aye.
One abstention.
abstention.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Could we state that for the record, that Commissioner Bauer was not present for that vote?
Commissioner Brown was not present for that vote. It's the Harbor Commission on the brain. I'm trying to stall, but anyways, okay, yes, he was not here for that vote. Section O. Yeah, right. Yeah. Section M, items from staff.
I just, before you do that, I just thank you, everyone. I know
Yeah.
there was a lot of energy tonight,
We
and
voted. Oh, okay.
thank you.
Honestly, I'm sorry I'm not sitting over there with you guys, but I should be getting rocks thrown at me too.
Okay, items from staff. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Feel free to come by anytime.
Yeah.
I'll be short if you want to. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm saying goodbye to people. There are no items from staff tonight.
Okay, great.
Items from tab, special meeting.
Okay, commission member items and future commission agenda topics. Do we have anything? Roger, please.
To remember that? So I'd like to discuss agendizing a presentation on the wave pool design concept at the next Harbor Commission meeting. That's September 14th.
Yes.
Would you guys be ready to present that soon?
And want to? That's a
Okay.
yes.
Just for the record, just because our minutes secretary doesn't know what's going on, but
Sure.
there was a
So,
request that the proposer or proponent and supporter of a wave pool is in the audience, and the commissioner asked if he was prepared to present on the 14th.
Yes.
Mhm.
Given that, and given that for the first time all year, we have a pretty full agenda, we had asked that fishing, police security cameras, police cameras, and
I think the camera one wasn't going to be for.
I thought we had pulled that back. I am not
We
sure.
didn't have enough information.
We didn't have enough,
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
we have that on there. We said we
Okay.
didn't have enough info.
We just had the fishing and the concerts.
Yeah. Do we want to push one of those out or both?
I think like if the city has something to help us on the fishing one, we can talk about it. But if they don't have anything, then we can't, right?
I mean, the fishing one was just letting us know where the fishing is going to be. I'm
I
not sure how
think the
long.
fishing,
Well,
I think fishing will probably go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, the fishing, I'm not so sure, because the fishing was going to be a discussion of where it's allowed, and then we were going to discuss where it could fit.
Right, we would facilitate that. We'll show you on a map where it's allowed, and then it's up to you how long that conversation goes. So Roger makes a point. Mhm.
I don't think there's a need to push anything.
Great.
I don't like to
Okay.
push.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah,
no.
sounds good.
Who determines the order in which we go through these things?
Staff initially does. I believe there's also a call set with the chairperson. You can have that conversation then as well. And at the meeting itself, if you guys gauge that certain things will take longer, you can always rearrange it
Okay.
on the night of the meeting.
Because you're here for the whole meeting, but they don't have to be. So,
That is true. So if you just want to direct staff right now, I'm like, hey, let's just make this the first item on the agenda, we can do that.
please.
Okay.
Okay, so you made a motion to do that. No, you just did it. We have to,
I think that my previous motion was to send a note to council. I have not yet made a motion on agendizing a present, so I'll do it now. So I'd like to make a motion that we agendize the next meeting, September 14th, a presentation on the Seaside Lagoon wave pool design concept.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent.
We needed a second on Roger, but I think it's, but yeah, that's all right.
Okay. Anything else?
Second on Roger's motion.
All right. I believe we're at section O.
Yes.
Oh.
Please,
I make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Thank you all again for coming.